Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, let's start the story of what if Izuku was teleported to an alien world and got harem. Another planet hovered near Earth, a war planet. The planet itself has been transformed into a warship using advanced technology to move it across space, allowing it to have the full military might of the entire planet forces pointed to a single target at once. Bond and energy bindings, All Might was brought before the leader of the war fleet, a young woman with horse features. She's a tall girl with long red hair with yellow stripes, a unicorn horn on her forehead, horse ears, tail, large orange wings on her back and light fur coat covering her busted G-cup's body. She wore a military-style gray uniform that showed off her shapely figure. "I don't know who you are, but I will stop you," All Might said, straining against the energy binds. The young woman is looking at a number of screens and typing on hard-light keyboards and touch screens, not even pretending to be a bit interested in the hero before her. On the screens are the armies of robots that have appeared in every single capital and military bases around the world. It wasn't an invasion, far too late for that, it's a victory. For uncountable years, my family have spread across the galaxy like a virus, conquering worlds to hone our armies. And on every planet, there has always been a hero, the woman said, not even looking at him as she continues to work with her screens. All Might is straining against his energy chains as they slowly give way to his strength. The one. The champion. Each has inevitably come to this same moment, stalwart in the belief you are all that stands between the freedom of your people or the systematic subjugation under the Equestrian Empire, the woman said, not caring how All Might is freeing himself. Breaking free, All Might leaps at the leader who continues to work at her command chair. "Each of you is so sure you're not only going to fight me, but that you might even triumph as well. And ultimately, each of you always discovers I never do my own fighting," the woman said, finally looking at All Might, who is flying through the air at her, utterly bored. Leaping from behind the command chair, a over 7 feet tall grayish amaranth woman with H-cups and light pistachio hair with grayish green and lime green streaks. She slams her body into his, grabbing him, spun in the air and slams him onto the ground. All Might leaped to his feet to attack the new enemy, but another woman appeared in front of him. Her mane is a strong cerulean with moderate Arctic blue streaks in 2 ponytails. Her coat is a pale light grayish olive, who stands at over 7 feet, who has H-cups. She parries all of his punches, before she attacked with rapid knife handings that hits all of his pressure points, nerve clusters, joints, and major blood vessels, on his chest and arms before she zips behind him and does the same with the pressure points on his back. 1. All Might screamed as he couldn't move his body and he felt like he's dying thanks to the pressure point attacks, followed by being slammed by feet first by a light amber gray woman with E-cups, dark blue and cerulean hair with Arctic blue streaks, who has wings on her back, who rams her feet into his right side, hitting his old wound. All Might rolled onto his feet as he hit the ground, and before he could recover, from behind he was stuck by the energy blasts from a light turquoise woman with E-cups and grayish mulberry hair with light raspberry streaks, who has a unicorn horn on her forehead where the energy blast is coming from, who stands at 6 feet 7 inches tall. Another woman who stands at 6 feet 5 inches, a bluish-gray mare with F-cups and opal-gray hair with Arctic bluish-gray streaks, done up in twin ponytails, with a horn on her forehead, also blasting All Might with energy. And hovering in the air by wings on her back, a pale, light gold mare with rose-colored freckles on her cheeks, upper part of her F-cup bobas, shoulders, hips, and butt. Her hair was a mix of rose shades with a streak of aquamarine, done up in a ponytail. She blasted him with lightning. The energy and lightning attacks brought All Might to his knees. A blue unicorn woman with a white mane stood in front of the weakened All Might. She wore a matching purple magic hat and cape and dress in a purple tux. Her shirt held in check her H-cup bobas and her pants showed off her large butt, wide hips, giving her an hourglass figure, and stands at 6 feet 8 inches. Unlike the others who wore body armor over gray uniforms. The woman blasted All Might, with energy from her horn that caused him to turn to his normal skinny form. And he fell on his face gasping for air. I hire well, the woman smiled at the work her elites have done. She glanced at the screen showing the people on the planet below. Their faces showing their spirits having been broken seeing their hero fall before them. Just like all the other worlds when their champion fell. Now what's sunset? A voice called out and revealed to be a young green-haired young man. Add your world to the empire. What else, Izuku? Sunset said. Is all of this necessary? Izuku asked. I read your mind and he told you that someone quirkless like yourself couldn't be a hero. Right after that former friend of yours Katsuki told you to jump off a building and hope to be reborn with a quirk. And how you were rejected from UA just because they also view you as worthless without a quirk. So why do you care? After all, Japan, unlike most other countries, don't see someone without a quirk as someone worth caring for, Sunset said. Yes, but just taking over my world like this? Izuku asked. Well, you can always challenge for the right to rule a planet, Sunset said. I can? Izuku asked. Yes, you can, as you are a part of my herd, Sunset said. Okay, I'll challenge for the planet, Izuku said. And it'd be a one-on-one with one of the member of our herd, Sunset smirks with the rest of her herd. What? Izuku asked, looking at the rest of the herd. I'll say it be oil wrestling, naked. Trixie smiled at the thought of her and Izuku naked and covered in oil. I would take that, as you really don't have the combat training to fight anyone here, Sunset said. Don't worry, we'll just wrestle you to the ground and have our way with you, Lemon Zest smirks. Sunset, I told you that we humans don't have a free mating culture, Izuku said. Okay, no pinning him down and ravishing him. We do that afterwards, Sunset said to her herd. I do need to train for combat, Izuku said. True, you only got the training you got from us in using the equipment we gave you. But seeing how UA wouldn't allow you to use any support gear and you're not a part of the school as a student. They and anyone else connected to that school can't help train you, Sunset said to the boy she fallen for and found after searching for him after he managed to find his way back home. But Sunset, how will I get ready to face? Izuku said, looking at the shadow bolt Sunset's personal guards and herd. We decided that later. And the UA already made their decision in not wanting a quirkless hero. And would only accept you now, because of me picking you as your world's champion. After All Might's sad performance, Sunset said, looking at All Might's husk-like form. So sad that injury causes him to lose that muscular form after a few hours. And that he's slowly dying from it. It does explain why he's always going around on patrol. He wants to leave a mark before he dies, Izuku said. And just to let you know, everything is being shown to your world, so your secret is out, Sunset said, using her telekinesis to bring All Might over to her, and she touches his forehead and read his mind. Also, he was born quirkless and got the quirk from the last holder, as it's a quirk that can be passed down to others. What? Izuku asked. He's the 8th who held the quirk, he got it from Nana Shimura. Also, she and the other past holders have a copy of their memory inside the quirk along with their powers. Toshinori Yagi here just never was able to unlock that. Also, all the past users of All for One, all had rapid aging due to anyone with a quirk before being given one for all. As he was quirkless before, he didn't suffer from that fate like all the others. It's why they all failed at fighting One for All, the villain that crippled All Might here. Who is still alive thanks to All Might never finding a body, Sunset explains. He's alive? All Might asked, horrified. You just crushed his head, and seeing how he can steal quirks from others, he would have quirks that would allow him to survive that. And when I meet him, I need to ask him why he had such a hard time dealing with you, Sunset said as she teleports All Might back to Earth. What happened to him? Izuku asked. I teleported him back to Earth, Sunset said, bringing up a screen showing All Might in the middle of Times Square, hanging from the big screen for all to see. Heroes of New York are already on the screen with the flying ones getting him down. So, I can't train in UA? Izuku asked as the school would have all that he needs to be ready. Because I'm cruel and love ironic twist. You who ended up on Equestria thanks to an accident teleportation and got me and my shadow bolts to welcome you into our herd, making you the stud, before you teleported back home. Who wants to be a quirkless hero of Japan, failed by the school you wanted to go to because they rig it so that you wouldn't have what you needed to have a chance. Which the Hero Commission keeps it that way as the status quo. Is now the only one I'm allowing to have a one-on-one fight to decide what happens to your planet. If not, I'll just have to play the old fire lasers from space and out of range of any quirk on the planet below till the ones left give up, Sunset said, looking at the screens that is streaming everything to Earth. Still the same, Izuku said. And you're still the cutie that I fell for, Sunset said. But if it's not UA, what other school? Izuku asked. I'm only letting you try out for schools that are still doing their exams, Sunset said, and on a computer screen a list of the hero schools that still have open exams are shown. Which are only 2. Oh, only 2 schools to choose from. Better hope that they're good. CI Academy is an all-girl school, Izuku said, reading the name of the school on top. You in an all-girl school, Sunset said as she and the Shadowbolts all shared a look at each other. That's out, I'm not letting you being the only boy in an all-girl school. And have to deal with a harem of human girls that have fallen for you, Sunny Flare said with the others nodding. The only other school is Stardew Valley High, Izuku said, never hearing it before. According to the information, it's a rural school in a small farming town where most of the young population left for the big cities, after the tin mine ran dry and closed. The school is also a public school for the few children that are left in the town. Run by the 3 remaining teachers, all but one of them is quirkless thanks to the fact that most people with quirks left the town. And the heroes they taught before are mostly search and rescue for the rural area. And one who has a quirk can spin her head around, Sunset said. So that's the school I'll be going to learn to be a hero? Izuku asked. Yup, and no having new teachers or heroes joining the school. Only the ones there already, or ones who are already transferring to the school, which is none. Also no new equipment or money just being given to the school, just for you Izuku to use, Sunset said. What about the other students of the school? Izuku asked. The only students are 2 local kids, a boy and a girl, both younger than you, Sunset said. 2. Oh, Izuku said, seeing her point. Well, it's better than nothing, or you can just give up now, Sunset said. Go for it. Trixie shouted out. But if I do, you just enslave the planet, Izuku said. Yes, but I will be fair, harsh but fair, Sunset said. I have to try to stop you, Izuku said. Why fight when Japan hasn't earned your loyalty or determination? If you lived in another country like the United States, you could have gotten the support equipment you were told you couldn't used by UA, as that country, like many others, do have quirkless heroes, Sunset said. My dad does live in the States for his job, Izuku said. Well, seeing how you don't live with him and that he spent years away and you only have pictures of him to remember what he looks like. No going overseas to stay with your dad, seeing how he's too married to his job for him to care about you, for you to be able to live with him in the States. Seeing how he would only be doing so because of me. Seeing how you told me he hasn't even called or sent mail or emails to you for years, Sunset said. Yeah, he wouldn't had cared. Only now because he has to care, Izuku said, knowing his dad. So he's out and you be going to the rural school to be trained as a hero and fight one of the Shadowbolts for the freedom of your planet. But don't worry, losing just means you being the stud of my herd, Sunset said. And my mom? Izuku asked. She'll be safe too, Sunset said and turns to the screen again. Now let's see the hero teacher that will be teaching you. Gil, who is a licensed hero, search and rescue, who also works as the school janitor and groundskeeper as the hero class has been empty for years. The screen shows an old man with a long gray beard, sleeping on a chair out in front of a shack in the back of an old run-down school building. The old training course for the hero class is still there, but all rusted or broken from disuse and weather. The training dummies are being used as scarecrows for the garden that's been planted in the old field. Unless he's one of those old mentors who, while looking like a lazy bum, is actually a great teacher. The chances of you being a hero capable of beating one of the girls is looking grim, Sunset said. You're just making it harder, Izuku said. No, I'm just the one with all the cards and only allowing this chance to rub salt and lemon in the wound of Japan's culture of only those with quirks can be heroes. Besides, it is Yue's fault for not letting you use support equipment. You're great with it from the time you spent training with the girls. Too bad they wouldn't allow you, and that school you're going to is sure doesn't going to have any high-tech support equipment, Sunset said. Yue. Niza held his head as the phones of his office are ringing non-stop. He's watching the live feed from the planet warship that could be seen from the side of the planet it's facing. He knows that the government and Hero Commission are going to use him and the school as the scapegoat for this mess. Izuku, even without the support gear he asked for, still performed well enough to get in, but because he doesn't have a quirk he wasn't picked. And now he's the only one in the world that can decide the fate of the world. Pegasus ponies with a light but powerful body and are the smallest of the ponies. A fully grown Pegasus rarely ever grows taller than under 7 feet. They can walk on clouds and move them around, giving them some control over the weather. They also use wind magic to help them fly and or create powerful gust of wind. Unicorns, who all naturally can use magic. Their horns on their forehead helps in controlling the magical energy. Standard height is under 8 feet. They're also the weakest physically compared to the other pony races, but still much stronger than any human. Earth ponies are the largest and strongest of the pony race. Standard height is under 9 feet. They're able to use earth magic, which helps in growing plants and allows them to locate rare earths and metals. Alicorns are the perfect mix of all 3 races of ponies blended into one. Far stronger, powerful, and faster, also the longest lived, with the oldest being over 40,000 Earth years and still going strong. Oriana is the first alicorn which the royal bloodline comes from. She's the oldest and most powerful magic user in the entire known galaxy. The headmistress of the Royal Magic School, where only the most elite of magic users who finish their schooling are allowed to go to. Basically, it's a college where only those who have clean records and good grades are allowed to attend. With Oriana firing any staff member who tries to cover or turn a blind eye to such behavior. Every now and then Oriana takes special interest and takes that person as her personal student. All the students she has taken have all made a name for themselves. Her 2 sisters Solar and Oral tried to become alicorns like their sister, but even with her help they could never become ones. Their family lines have continued creating branches of the royal family, with Solar's line producing Cadance, who is the only other alicorn that's not part of the main family. Cadance is governing the Crystal Star system. Oral's line newest generation is currently Prince Blueblood. He's a rich noble who spends most of his time partying around with Mares. Males are rare for the pony race and are all expected to breed with a number of Mares. There are manhood liquid banks for Mares who can't find a male of their own, and has increased the births of males as they can choose what gender the baby is. Oriana had 3 daughters, Infinitia, Estellaria, and Heaven. Both Estellaria and Heaven died before they could have children. They were slain during the Bayer Wars when said race launched an invasion on the Equestrian system. The Bayer home world is now a husk and the surviving Bayer race turned to stone. Infinitia Jump started the industrial age of Equestria with her inventions before and during the war. Any new technology discovered or traded for once the space age began with contact with other races, she studies and improves on. Her knowledge and wisdom makes her the smartest being in the known galaxy. She's the head of the Jolt Academy. Only the best and brightest are allowed into the exclusive school, that has separate departments that deal in the different research and sciences. The school has attracted many other races to come to study at the school, which is why it's very heavily patrolled and guarded at all times. Infinitia has two daughters, Cosmica and Polaris. Cosmica was a warrior queen when she ruled, conquering star systems of the enemies of the Empire. Her fighting skills, both unarmed and armed, are legendary, with her laying waste to entire armies by herself, which she earned during the Callous Wars. The younger daughter, Polaris, became an explorer who is still traveling around, finding new pathways and star systems, on her planet ship, which she was the first one to do. Her planet ship is the Callous former colony world of Vesa, now renamed Stardust. She has a daughter, Hikacia, who is the governess of the Heka star system. Hikacia governs the Heka star system, which she's named after. Her mother, Polaris, discovered the star system and the one to name the star. The system is a major spaceport, thanks to it being in the major space shipping lanes. The system has 6 gas planets that are mined for their gases, and the lone rock planet is the main spaceport. The rock planet was barren of life before it was terraformed. Hikacia has 2 daughters, Galatea and Helia. Galatea is known as the monster maker. Her magic talent is in shaping magical clay and creating golems. Her creations are sought after for their beauty and as magical guards. She likes to make monsters out of clay and bring them to life, using them as cannon fodder to wear down the forces of an enemy before sending stronger monsters. She travels with her grandmother Polaris, using her clay creations to help during any battle with an enemy force. Helia is known as the businesswoman of the royal family. She's the head of the Starbolt Shipping Company, which escorts space vessels, protecting them from space pirates. Completely ruthless and has no time for anything else, she is married to her job, with it being rare for her to show up at events. Cosmica has 2 daughters, Galactica and Eclipsa. Galactica spent most of her reign handling domestic affairs. She is also fashion-obsessed, with her style being like that of the ancient Egyptians of Earth. While she doesn't look or act like it, she is a master at politics, having dealt with politicians for hundreds of years and taught by the best. Her sister Eclipsa is known as the Juggernaut, with the planet ship named Juggernaut. All alicorns are born with very powerful magic, but Eclipsa was born with too much magic, where even the most basic of spells are overpowered when she cast them. Made worse by the fact she couldn't hold back the amount of power she cast her spells with. She's always using full power with her magic at a level that would either kill or burn out any other magic user, even an alicorn. Both her grandmothers, Oriana and Infinitia, worked together to fashion power limiters in the form of jewelry for Eclipsa to wear. The real problem is that the older an alicorn gets, the stronger they become, with the power limiters having to be upgraded over the years to contain her power. She uses her vast power to power her planet ship and use it as a weapon that's unstoppable. She powers up the planet-wide force field with her magic and simply rams her shielded planet into any warships in space. Or supercharge the hyper-death ray to destroy targets as far away as several solar systems away. Which is different from a normal death ray by having more death when used. Eclipsa is always dead serious, never bothers with posturing, monologuing, codes of honor, and never underestimate an enemy. She's the one who takes care of threats as fast as she can, and leaves making an example out of an enemy to others in the family, after she has beaten them down first. Galactica has 4 daughters, Celestia, Luna, Solis, and Moon, who all rule together. Solis, the eldest of the sisters, is the military commander of the sisters, handling the military affairs of the Empire. She's the most powerful of the sisters, both as a tactical commander handling the ever-shifting battlefields taking place around the galaxy. She has also been trained to be a warrior, having learned just about every fighting style in the galaxy. Moon is the intelligence commander of the sisters. She's the scary one of the sisters, as she's a trained torturer to gain information out of anyone and is the one who make examples out of the enemies of the Equestrian Empire. She likes to make jewelry out of the eyeballs of her enemies. She and Celeste between them have made 37 races either extinct or near extinct. Celestia is the one who handles domestic affairs, making sure everything is running and all the logistics problems are handled. She's the most peaceful of the sisters who rather do paperwork than getting her hands dirty. She's the only one who is a mother. Luna, the youngest, is the one who handles the diplomatic affairs. The Equestrians, while imperialism in their nature, will offer their hand in friendship first, and if rejected or harm or unjust treatment done to a member of the landing party of a member of the Equestrian race or those under their protection, they will bring out the weapons and give the offending race their terms of surrender or face enslavement or extinction. Wait, the diplomat of the USA of the UN said, reading the notes that Izuku has given to the officials to read. After Izuku was returned to Earth with an Equestrian camera pod that follows him around, government agents collected him, and with some teleporters on the UN payroll, Izuku was brought to the UN in New York. There he gave information about the Equestrians and how he ended up there in the first place, which was caused by a short circuit in a long-range teleport machine that grabbed him by mistake over a year ago, right after All Might told him he couldn't be a hero without a quirk. Ending up in the princess's bedroom and meeting Princess Sunset for the first time. He was stuck on the alien world till the teleportation energy that still was on him sent him back home on its own. Izuku did try to tell people what happened to him and why he disappeared for nearly a year. But no one believed him and the equipment he had with him when he was teleported as something someone gave him. Because you're a member of the princess's herd and because of how poorly you were treated by the UA is the reason why she just sent her robots down? The USA diplomat asked. As the male member of the herd, I'm seen as the most vulnerable and the weakest who needs protecting. Which is why once Sunset read my mind and saw what happened to me, she reacted as she did, Izuku said. So you have an overly protective girlfriend, the USA diplomat said. Yes, from an alien race who have both super advanced technology and are able to use what they call magic. Due to Equestrian men only making up about 1/10 of the population, their society is highly matriarchal. Almost all vocations, including commerce and especially the military, are seen as the province of women. Men, in contrast, live in seclusion within specialized cloisters. The prevailing belief is that, as the rarer and weaker mating, they need to be protected and kept secure, and mostly serve to father new generations. That's how the women of the Equestrian race are taught to behave and think. Sunset and the others found how I was treated to be an insult and why she wants to just take over and force change. By holding the gun and making it happen, Izuku explained. Can't you talk her down? The Taiwan diplomat asked. No, only her older family members can overrule her now, and knowing them, they will agree with her. And don't any of you try to harm Sunset. The last time a member of the royal family was, the race responsible were made an example of. After conquering their world, the adults of the race was transformed into brain bots, robots with the still living brains used as CPUs. The children were all put to death, killed by their own parents after they were made into robots. The brain bots are still around and operating, while trapped in their never-dying bodies. The race is the one responsible for the deaths of the 2 daughters of the first queen. Other races have been given the choice of that happening to them or handing over the ones responsible. The last time the offer was refused, the planet was stripped of all resources and the surviving population were all brought together where the ones responsible for what happened revealed and were left at the mercy of the angry population as the Equestrians left, Izuku said. Leaving you as the only one who can fight one-on-one to decide the fate of our world, the Italian diplomat said. Yes, as that's how they are, Equestrians follow tradition in matters like this. I won't have to fight Sunset, which would be impossible for me, as she like the rest of her family all have powerful telekinesis, where they can move a star by just thinking about it, Izuku said, bringing up the information of the shadow bolts. Indigo Zap is extremely competitive and has an unbridled passion for winning. Like all Pegasus ponies, she is immune to electricity, high tolerance for extreme heat and cold. She's also the fastest in flight speed. Sugarcoat, who displays an overly blunt, cynical attitude towards others, pointing out their faults without hesitation. She's a skilled magic user, having studied with Sunset in learning magic, skilled in white magic. Lemon Zest demonstrates the behavior of a wild, obnoxious rocker girl. She's an earth pony with a powerful body who is super strong even for an earth pony. She also isn't a simple brute reliant on her strength alone and is in fact a highly skilled fighter. She is seen as the weakest thanks to her single-mindedness and just using her brute strength. Sour Sweet has somewhat of a bipolar personality where she alternates between being sarcastic and rude sour and obnoxiously nice sweet. She's skilled in multiplying the weather. Sunny Flare is the most poised of her teammates, having elegant and self-confident mannerisms, but with an arrogant, rude, and aloof demeanor. She's a skilled magic user, skilled in black magic. Juniper Montage is the brains and the most of her team, who is also greedy. She's a skilled tactical fighter, who doesn't just rely on her super strength. She regularly trains with Lemon Zest, who, while stronger than her, lacks her fighting skills. Trixie Lulamoon is a skilled stage magician and magic user who uses illusions in her magic, making it hard to tell what's real or not. She is also skilled in creating fireworks and bombs, which she uses to fight with. All of them are bigger and stronger than me. Who all been trained since they were young to be the bodyguards of Sunset. Raised together with her to form a close bond with her. I was training with them before I was teleported back home. And they're not even fully grown yet. The older Maras are even stronger, with many of them having hundreds of years of real-world experiences on battlefields. The normal lifespan for a pony is around 800 Earth years, and they only start aging once they near their remaining years. And All Might couldn't handle a bunch of young adults. I only being allowed this 1 year to train in a hero school in Japan to fight one of them, Izuku said. And you can't just transfer to a hero school overseas? The France diplomat asked. No, Sunset made that very clear, and the camera drone that's following is recording and broadcasting everything back to her. If it's damaged or the signal is messed with, she'll send more to see what happened and respond accordingly, Izuku said. And the only school she's letting you go to is a run-down school that has only 2 other students in it, the Canada diplomat said. Well, UA didn't allow me to use any of my support equipment, and even when I still pass they wouldn't let me in because I'm quirkless, Izuku said, causing the other diplomats to look at Japan. And yet there are plenty of quirkless heroes in the countries who let the quirkless be pro-heroes. With our number 1 being quirkless, the United Kingdom diplomat pointed out. I do my best, but you all seen the state of the training ground in school, Izuku said. Then you just have to do non-stop training every single day, the Japan diplomat said. Oh, look, they expect you to do all that, and once it's over they will go back treating you as they did before. Worthless as you don't have a quirk, Sunset's voice said from the camera drone. Sunset? Izuku asked. Been listening in, and yes, I can speak through the drone. And you, the Japan diplomat, I would think you should be pleading with Izuku to fight and not telling him to go and train. I mean, like you sending nasty drill instructors to give Izuku training from hell, to break him down and make him into a soldier, while not making it worthwhile for him to put himself through all that. Why, he could build up so much resentment for how he's treated that he will just give up. By the way, Izuku, I'm going to send you a ready-made home for you while you're training, staffed by some lovely young maids, Wallflower, Moondancer, Minute, Lemon Hearts, Twinkleshine, Lyra Heartstrings, and Bon Bon. My ladies-in-waiting who will serve you while you're training to save a world that after you're not saving them will go back to seeing you as worthless and will never let you become a hero as you don't have a quirk, Sunset said, making it clear that she's going to be doing her best to get Izuku to just give up and let her do as she wants with Earth. 1. My country will give you a fully paid scholarship of any hero school in our country of your choice and be the sidekick of the hero of your choice as well, if you win, the German diplomat said. Causing other offers from other countries that do have quirkless heroes. We can get All Might to be your mentor and give you his quirk, the Japanese diplomat said, knowing he has to save face for his country. The same one who told me I couldn't be a hero without a quirk? No, I refuse to have anything to do with him and I will just give up right now, if he tries to help or give me his quirk, Izuku said. Why accept help from someone who knows what it's like to be quirkless but once they gain a quirk goes and looks down on their fellow quirkless, Sunset said from the drone. The Prime Minister of Japan met with the head of the Hero Commission, the top schools' heads, and the top heroes. On the screen is the war planet Last Sunset commanded by Princess Sunset Shimmer of the Equestrian Empire. Currently near the asteroid belt near Jupiter, where spaceships are harvesting them for metals and other resources. And another fleet of ships also collecting gas from the gas planet. Advanced energy weapons, warships that can fire from space which no country has or any quirk can reach. An entire planet worth of soldiers in the billions, all of them being from a race that can live around 800 of our years, giving them centuries of real-world experience in war. They have billions of robots that they can send down, in waves after waves of them to just overwhelm any force. Not to mention they can simply teleport anywhere on this planet catching anyone off guard like last time. All Might already showed that a bunch of young adults are more than enough to beat him, the Prime Minister said replaying the scene where the pony Juniper unleashed a fury of pressure points on his upper body, front and back and his arms. The pressure points not only locked up his joints and paralyzed his body, also caused him tons of pain as all of his nerves and blood vessels were hit at once, also causing internal damage including his organs, leaving him completely helpless to the others to attack him. Izuku Midoriya, thanks to a teleportation accident, ended up on the home planet of the Equestrian Empire, where they had all the time to study his body and learn how it works. He also was a fanboy of heroes before he was told by All Might that he couldn't be a hero without a quirk. He had notebooks with him of his analysis of heroes and their quirks, from the old ones that he kept that we gotten a hold of. The analysis professionals are all impressed by it. Meaning the equestrians also know all about quirks, and the top heroes. Along with what else the lad has told them about Earth, while he was with them. He is also the only one who can stop Princess Sunset from just taking over Earth and make changes without caring about what it will do to Earth. If he wins, negotiations can take place where Earth will still become a part of the Equestrian Empire, but at least we can make terms instead of us having no choice, the Japan minister said. The screen changed to Stardew Valley in the old quarry that's been abandoned for decades. Having been brought from the company that owns it and where the Equestrian Embassy is now located. A ship designed to land and be used as a ready-made building had landed. Which is where Izuku Midoriya is now living, having been teleported out of the UN by sunset. The building is protected by auto turrets and robots. The building is completely protected even from underground, with any attack or break-in be treated as an act of war. The only one allowed in the embassy is Izuku, where he's being severed by the robots and the all-female staff of young women. All of whom are Sunset's ladies-in-waiting who be doing their best to convince Izuku to just give up and let Sunset take over her way. A young man surrounded by lovely young women who all be offering their bodies for him to use. If he's not treated well, why wouldn't he just give up, the Prime Minister said. The next screen shows a middle-aged green-haired woman. Inko Midoriya, Izuku's mother. She was our best bet in getting close to her son, but after he came back from Equestria he changed from what she remembered him. She informed the agents who spoke to her about her son that he no longer the boy she remembers him. He brought up that she never believed in him that he could be anything without a quirk. When he asked her if her could be a hero when he was told he was quirkless, all she did was cry. While she can still influence him, it's nowhere near what we need to keep Izuku's mind focused on being on Earth's side. His relationship with his father, his Ash Midoriya, is even worse. The last time they spent any time together is when he was too young to really remember it. He's a dead end. Izuku has no reason to care about him as he never gave him a reason to think he did. Leaving us with no one that's close to him, the Prime Minister said. The screen opened showing the principal of Stardew High, an old one-eyed man named Marlin. To be truthful, when the school was still teaching heroes, it was mostly as search and rescue heroes. Gil was just the assistant teacher before Sully, our last hero teacher, moved away after the town started dying. The last student Gil taught was over 50 years ago. I am a kendo master, but that was over 40 years ago before I lost my eye to a car accident. After that, Pelican Town isn't exactly a place where old masters of a fighting style that someone quirkless could learn under come to live. As for support items, all we got are over 50 years out of date, and are all for search and rescue, Marlin said. And with Princess Sunset not allowing any new teachers or heroes to transfer to the school and no new equipment or anything else, just for Izuku to use only. We're up a creek with no paddle, the Prime Minister said. I have an idea, Nizu said, who has been under the constant blaming for his and the other teachers refusing to allow Izuku to attend UA even after he earned it, which caused the government and the commission to close down the school and all staff to leave the grounds as agents go through everything. UA is in deep trouble as all the teachers' hero licenses to be suspended and agencies to be closed down while the investigation is undergoing. The funding for the school is also going as the donators are pulling out their money. What? You crawling to Izuku and begging him to come to UA? The Prime Minister snorted, earning mocking laughter from the other heads of the hero schools from the former head of UA1. Let's not even entertain ideas from the one who caused this mess to begin with. Besides, the moment the boy hears it's from you, he will reject it or even just give up to spite in your eye, rodent. I would have liked him attending my school. Having a harem guy in the school would have been entertaining, the headmistress of CI Academy said. The retried heroine, Mirror Mirror. She is capable of bending reality around her body, allowing any incoming attacks or projectiles to be deflected or returned to the attacker. You have an idea, Mirror Mirror? The Prime Minister asked. We can't send any teachers or equipment to the school. But if one of the old factories when the town was a mining town is brought and turned into a support equipment factory or a depot that all of our schools use, Marlin can just go there to get some equipment for his school himself. Also getting some of our students to transfer to Stardew High, students who just happen to come from a family that runs a dojo or something on that line, who can tutor the Izuku boy and befriend him. Sunset isn't allowing any new teachers or funding to the school because of there only being 3 kids there. But if there are a sudden increase of students, that should get her to change her mind, Mirror Mirror said. Yes, that could work, the Prime Minister said, thinking it over. I'll inform Princess Sunset about this. As for all of you, get a list of students who are good choices, and do a background check on all of them. Have them talk with someone who can tell when they're lying or something. This is too important to have a student go and ruin it for everyone, the Prime Minister said. Gil shakes his head as he looks over the old equipment that the school still had. Most haven't broken or rusted from years of disuse. The only things still usable are the rusted dumbbells, jump rope, and nothing else that would be helpful to get Izuku into shape to fight. Gil couldn't believe that he's supposed to train a kid to fight for the fate of the planet, because the SNUA wouldn't accept a quirkless student. This is it? The government official Mika asked. She came to look over the school to see how much work is needed to bring it up to code. The school is a 3-story building with 26 classrooms, a cafeteria, offices, janitor room, and a library. Having been built over 100 years ago, with out-of-date equipment and old supplies, and much-needed repairs. The school showed its age and neglect once the students stopped coming in, the funding dried up. That was built when Pelican Town was still thriving thanks to the local mine bringing in people to the valley. But that was over 70 years ago, when the mine ran dry and was shut down. Pelican Town used to have a population around 4,000 to 6,000, now only has less than 100 people left. Without the mine, the town went bust and more young people left till there was only a few left. The reason why people still stop at the town is because of the gas station by the bus stop and the JoJo Mart. Also the train station, where trains stop now and then to repair or refuel, where the people on board would go and explore the town. Shopping at the stores that are still open. There is also the festivals that lure in tourists to the town. Besides some rescue gear, this is all that I have to work with. With how there are only 2 students before all this happened, the school board didn't see any reason to get new equipment, Gil said. What about the rest of the school? Mika asked. Most of the school has been closed off after fewer and fewer students came to the school. Right now, the only used rooms is one classroom, the office, and the lunchroom, which is me serving the kids whatever I can make for the day, Gil said. What about school lunches? Maki asked. That was years ago when the last truck came in. Since then the kids bring their own food or when they know I'm making something good, Gil said. What about school supplies? Maki asked. Leftovers from years back, Gil said. This isn't going to do. The school will need lots of work done to get it ready for any new students. Repairs to the building and replacing the old equipment and supplies from this decade, Maki said. Well, don't expect much from our end. The newest building and the one with the latest technology is the JoJo Mart. The only ones left are the ones who have nowhere else to go. We had to make do with what we had for decades now, Gil said. What have you been teaching Izuku? Maki asked. I've been having him chop wood to build up his muscles, Gil said. Chop wood? Maki asked. He needs to build up his muscles if he's going to be fighting. Some hard work will give him working muscles. Old Neela, who lived at the hat farm because of him working as a farmer all of his life, was still very fit for his age up to the end, Gil said. 1. How is he physically? Maki asked. Nowhere near what he needs to be able to fight any of those girls who beat up All Might. The only way I can see him winning a fight with them is him being a skilled fighter. All Might fights as a brawler with self-taught techniques he has picked up from experience. He made it up by his sheer strength, but when he tried to just power through that girl Juniper Montage, who is on his level of strength but is also a tactical fighter, is the reason she could face him head to head like that and win, Gil said. How is he anyways? He's still in the United States recovering in a hospital there, Maki said. Anything else you want to take note of? Gil asked. The school board hasn't approved any funds for the school yet. We still need to make sure the changes planned won't be denied by the princess, Maki said. You don't think she will support us? Gil asked. Not really. She has her own idea of what will happen to this school, Maki said. Gil sighed. We got no choice but to make the best out of the situation, right? Gil asked. The princess made it clear that she's cruel and loves the irony that a quirkless boy that was rejected even after he earned the points needed, was told that he couldn't be a hero, is now the only one who can determine the fate of our world. We're going to be a part of the Equestrian Empire, but the difference between having a choice of how it's done, to having no say at all, Maki said. What happened to the staff of U.A? Gil asks. Fired and their licenses revoked. Nizu is working for the government using his connections and knowledge to help solve the problem he made. It's a do as he's told and any idea he has is to be ignored. The other countries all want to send their own people to oversee the training of Izuku. They want to send their quirkless heroes here to help with the training, Maki said. Can't blame them for that. Too much at stake and it's not like we have someone who is a pro hero who can train Izuku, Gil said. And Izuku at any time can just give up. So if he's treated poorly he can just give up, and seeing how he's a part of the princess's herd as their stud. There's very little that we can actually offer to him that the princess couldn't easily provide for him, Maki said. I seen that mansion the princess gave to him to live in and those maids who serve him. Those girls are all buxom beauties who show off their bodies to him and are all urging him to just give up and be the princess's lover. And that they and any other members of the herd will also be his. I have no idea how he can withstand that kind of urging from those girls, Gil said. You would give up? Maki asked. Yup, Gil admitted. Maki sighed. If he is going to continue training, then we need to make sure he trains properly and stays strong. If he gives up, we will have failed, Maki said. Gil nodded. Space. On last sunset, the war planet of Princess Sunset Shimmer, said Princess is busy looking over the reports from the teams she has sent out to explore the solar system. The teams are exploring the planets and moons and other large objects that orbit the sun. They're looking for resources and locations for bases to exploit said resources. The cost of coming to the out-of-the-way solar system just to collect izuku needs to be justified for the bean counters back home. So she needs this trip to pay for itself. Alright, how much resources have been found? Sunset asked her some of the council members in the room with her. Starlight Glimmer, a tall young unicorn at 6 feet 9 inches who has a lilac coat, a purple and teal mane and tail. Has F cups. Sunset's personal aide. Autumn Blaze, a large young female Kirin who stands at over 10 feet, has a white coat with green scales, a brown mane and tail, with a brown Y-shaped horn on her head. Has M cups. Kirins are related to ponies but are unable to have offsprings. Head of Communications. Limestone Pie, a young earth pony who stands over 8 feet with a purple-gray coat and a light gray mane and tail. Has H cups. Head of Resources and Terraforming. Derpy Hooves, a young gray Pegasus standing at 6 feet 7 inches with a blonde mane and tail. Has E cups. She's the treasurer who is gifted at counting. Ms. Harshwini, a fully matured earth pony stands at over 8 feet who has an orange coat, yellow mane and tail. Has I cups. The governor of the planet. Zekara, a large fully matured zebra at over 10 feet who a black and gray coat, a black and white mane and tail. Has L cups. Head of Economics. Ms. Orange, a matured earth pony standing at over 9 feet with a light yellow coat and light brown mane and tail. Has K cups. Head of Agricultural and Water. Cranky Doodle Donkey, a male brown donkey who stands at over 7 feet and wears a wig. While donkeys can mate with ponies, mules and hinnies who are usually infertile, which is why donkeys and ponies rarely become a couple for that reason. Head of Logistics and Transportation. The only planets that can be terraformed are Venus and Mars. Still surveying the planets for the resources. The asteroid belt is rich in metals and other rare earths. The gas planets have collecting stations being built to harvest the gases as we speak. The other planets and moons are also being surveyed for resources, Limestone said. The systems that we visited coming here are already shipping resources back to the Empire or nearly finished with the infrastructure, Cranky said. Any intelligence life forms we missed? Sunset asked. None, life forms yes but none intelligent, Autumn said. Good, Sunset said. I crunched the numbers and as long as we don't have anything big and costly, the 8 new systems not counting Sol, should pay for everything, Derpy said. Got some companies interested in some of the planets in the new systems, Zekara said. Not bad for a trip to the middle of nowhere. At least you won't have to ask your family for money, Ms. Harshwini said. But even with all of the new systems and resources found, you still left the Empire without your mother's permission, Starlight said. I can handle Mother when she comes, Sunset said. You're not going to be that lucky, a very familiar voice said. Former Queen Oriana, the first Alicorn, who united the tribes together under her rule. She's nearly 100,000 years old and while ancient is still a stunning mare with a voluptuous body that is more than a match for her younger family members. Her coat is a dark purple with a mane that looks like it's made out of sky blue water. She stands at 9 feet tall and only wore a purple loincloth and 2 strips of fabric that hangs over her J-cup bobas hanging from a collar around her neck like her loincloth, that only needed to be pushed aside to show her boba points, the same went for her loincloth. It's clear that she's not wearing any underwear. She is also the master archmage of the royal court, with her long life allowing her to master all forms of magic in the known galaxy, and is the headmistress of the Royal Magic School, who has just made herself appear right behind her granddaughter. She looks to the others in the room with them. She waves them to leave, and all of them quickly left the room, leaving her with her wayward granddaughter. "Hi Grandma," Sunset said, losing her nerve as she looks up from where she's sitting to her grandmother, cold glaze. Without a word, Sunset was lifted up from her chair and twisted around to face her grandmother. Oriana touched Sunset's horn, casting a spell on her, locking away her powers. She then placed her granddaughter back on the ground in front of her. "You won't be using her powers till after I decide to break the seal. Going off after finding where Izuku was teleported to has your mother worried sick. But then again, you're not the first or be the last headstrong girl going off like this in this family. But both your aunts Estelaria and Heaven died because of being like that, which is why each time that happen, where some young princess goes off for something instead of waiting for others to go with them, I do this, take away their powers and discipline them according to what they have done. Traveling through unknown space of dead zone systems just to reach the lone system that has intelligent life on it, even with using your war planet to do it, is safer than some but still foolish," Oriana said. Oriana walks over to the chair Sunset was sitting on and sat down on it and placed Sunset on another chair around the table. "Once we return to Equestrian space, you lose your command of your war planet till I say otherwise, and other duties. You be confined to the palace under your mother's care with seals placed on you. A few years under house arrest should teach you not to be so foolish. For now, I'm taking over all operations. I already made arrangements for some time off from the school, and it'd be good to see how they can run things without me," Oriana said. "Yes, grandmother," Sunset said, submissive to her oldest living family member. "Now, let's talk about Izuku. You claiming the planet Earth as the newest planet under the control of the Empire and allowing him to fight for how the planet will be joining, has already spread. Galactica loves to gossip about things like this," Oriana said. After Infinitia's experimental long-range teleporter blew a fuse, and Izuku ended up in Sunset's bedroom while she and her herd were having mating, which caused Izuku to pass out from the scene of naked female bodies in a pile, Infinitia had tracked down where what her machine had teleported had sent it to. She explained what happened and how Izuku ended up on another planet. Infinitia began to study Izuku as he's the first human they had ever seen, and to make sure that he could survive on Equestria. Seeing how some races couldn't survive on the planet for one reason or another. Seeing how it was her fault for teleporting Izuku from his world, Infinitia took care of him, like what happened last time with Spike the Dragon when something similar had happened to him. Which Sunset also took it upon herself to look after Izuku and teach him about Equestria and how things works. Infinitia checked Izuku and was pleasantly surprised that humans are able to breed with Equestrians, which also goes for some of the other races known to the Empire. Which Infinitia has been trying to figure out why that's possible, and thinks maybe humans were experimented on by another race or a scientist who found the planet millions of years ago. Wouldn't be the first time that happened to a race, and explains the quirks Izuku told them about. 2. The news had spread that humans can breed with ponies, causing Sunset, who had grown fond of Izuku, to become very protective of him, resulting in her claiming him as the stud of her herd. Izuku is a nice boy, and the scent coming from him is very pleasant to female ponies. Plus humans look very similar to ponies, but for some features that with some makeup he could disguise himself as a young male pony. Which is the reason why Sunset and her herd became so attached to him. It's just natural for female ponies to become attached to a male after spending so much time with him. And that Sunset hadn't been around and interacted with a male besides Blueblood, who is her cousin and the other male member of the royal family alive since Orbit Shine passed away. I was the same with your grandfather Dusk Star, heading off to get him whenever he wandered off from the herd, Oriana said, remembering those days before she became an alicorn and was just another unicorn with her herd in those much simpler bygone days. Yes, and I had to act after I learned that even after that school refused to allow him to use support gear, still passed their test. Refuse to allow him in simply because he doesn't have a quirk, Sunset said. What happened to this school after the world learned what happened? Oriana asked, also angered by the news of Izuku being refused to be allowed to join a school even after proving himself. Closed down and the staff fired and losing their teaching and hero licenses, Sunset said. Good, saves us the trouble, Oriana said. I gave Izuku a house ship while he's training in the only school left that could take him as a student in Japan. Besides an all-girl school which I refuse to allow, Sunset said. And he's being served by your ladies-in-waiting, Oriana adds. Yes, all of them are serving him as his personal maids and are all urging him to just give up, Sunset said. Trying to change his mind by using the promise of endless mating. Dear Izuku is much too shy for that to work, Oriana pointed out. Which is why I have members of my herd serving him. He's used to them flirting with him, Sunset said. What about his mother? Oriana asked. Have talked with her, but I just let Izuku get her up to speed on things. He did told everyone what happened to him but no one believed him, Sunset said. I need to speak with her. With her going to become a part of the royal family, she will need to know things, Oriana said. What about Izuku's father? Sunset asked. Doesn't matter, he spent the most important years of his child's life away. Made worse that he never contacts his family or kept in touch with them, Oriana said. Izuku has no relationship with his father and views him more like a distant relative, Sunset said. Little value then as a male, Oriana said. Grandma, humans are different from us, Sunset said. Still doesn't excuse not even keeping in touch with his family, Oriana said. 3. Since Izuku went missing for months before returning and told the story of him being teleported to an alien world thanks to a malfunctioning teleporter machine. Where he met with the royal family as one of the members was the one who brought him to their worlds and he learned about the pony race and their culture. Izuku wasn't believed at all, the only one who believed him was his mother Midoriya, who listened to his stories of what it was like living on that alien world. Which is why she recognized the woman who appeared in front of her as she was leaving UA, which is being used by the government while it's closed down. Another interview with people asking her questions about her son, his likes and dislikes. Trying to find something to offer him to get him to want to fight. She told them what she knew and that his old friend isn't a friend anymore as he's just a bully who told her son to jump off a building to be reborn with a quirk. And Izuku doesn't have anyone else he thinks as a friend. He used to idolize All Might, but after he told her son that he couldn't be a hero without a quirk, he sold off all of his All Might collection. Using the money to help him train for the UA exam, to show that he can be a hero without a quirk. But even after proving himself he was rejected because he doesn't have a quirk. Then Sunset came with her war planet and its vast space-capable army, showing that what Izuku said happened to him did happen. Which only she believed. That is how she knows former Queen Oriana the First Alicorn, by how Izuku described her, appearing in front of her as she was heading towards the car that would take her home. A stunning mare with a voluptuous body that is more than a match for her younger family members. Her coat is a dark purple with a mane that looks like it's made out of sky blue water. She stands at 9 feet tall and only wore a purple loincloth and 2 strips of fabric that hangs over her J-cup bobas hanging from a collar around her neck like her loincloth, that only needed to be pushed aside to show her boba points, the same went for her loincloth. It's clear that she's not wearing any underwear. Midoriya, I'm Oriana the First Alicorn. I trust your son told you about me? Said Mare asked. Yes, I do. You are Sunset's great-grandmother, Inko asked, unable to look at the mare in front of her, as her lack of clothing showed off her incredibly matingy body. Yes, I am the very first Alicorn and Queen, and by your Earth years, I'm 45,735 years old. Older than you humans been around even if I don't look it, Oriana said. Why are you here? Inko asked. I have dealt with my wayward granddaughter. I strip her of her power and authority, placing her under house arrest. She wasn't supposed to come here by herself, even with her war planet, last sunset, and her own army. Coming here with just her forces is too dangerous for her. I'm now in charge of things and go over some things that Sunset didn't mention. Like for the fact that with your son being Sunset's future husband or stud for her herd, you being his mother are now a part of the royal family, Oriana said. Royal family? Inko asked. Yes, but let's talk elsewhere, Oriana said as she casted a teleportation spell on herself and Inko. Inko looked around, seeing that they're now in the chain coffee shop she usually stops by when she's out. Oriana walked to a table and casted a spell, causing the chair to become her size. Inko followed suit, sitting down on the other chair. Oriana looked at the menu and ordered a drink and some snacks, with Inko also ordering. How are you be paying? The worker asked nervously from the counter. Here, Oriana said as she makes 2 gold coins appear on the counter. Gold coins? The worker asked as he looks at the manager of the shop. Gold is usually seen as being valuable on most worlds I have been to and used as money, Oriana said. It is, the worker said as the manager told him to accept the coins. Now, as I was saying, with Izuku your son being a part of Sunset's herd, you are a part of the royal family now, Oriana said, paying no mind to the onlookers who are recording her with their phones. Me and his Ash are now royalty? Inko asked. No, just you. Your husband is a worthless male, while he does provide money for you and Izuku while working overseas. He hasn't been a part of your lives. Izuku doesn't even remember what he looks like outside of photos before he left. In my culture, outside of being a manhood liquid donor, males are supposed to help in raising children and being a part of their lives. Your husband has provided money, but outside of that, he's completely absent from Izuku's life, no letters or even a phone call now and then. He works for a company that sent him overseas to work. He's not on a ship, not in a job that doesn't allow him to contact the outside world. He has nothing preventing him from calling and saying hi to his son. Because of that, while you be seen and treated as a member of the royal family, he will not. He's nothing but a donor and has no bond with Izuku when it would have mattered, Oriana explained. You're right about that, Inko said, as it's only been after Sunset made her appearance did she hear from his Ash, who called her for the first time in years. If you want to hand out scrapes to him, it's okay. My culture views males who can maintain contact with their children but don't as worthless, outside of being a donor. Sunset doesn't know who her father is because of her mother using a manhood liquid bank to impregnate herself with a mix of different donors. Males are rare for most of our history. Outside of choosing the mating of the child, all natural births are mostly females. In the royal family, the only male is my great-nephew from my sister's branch of the family Blue Blood, who is under consent guard in his family's castle. He's a stud fathering children with other noble houses to create cautionary heirs, Oriana said. Izuku told me about it, Inko said. Then you know that humans are the only species that can mate and produce healthy offsprings with other races. Infinisha studied Izuku and is working on a way to enhance his body with some bioscience to increase his health and lifespan, which can be done for you as well, Oriana said. Increase our lifespan? Inko asked. You humans only live under 100 of your years. Sunset will outlive Izuku, as I outlived my husband and my herdmates. Infinisha is going to fix that with her science. Izuku is a nice male who is naive and shy around females, which I find charming. Males of my race are used to females around them and their advances to having mating. Izuku, on the other hand, is so shy that Sunset finds it charming in how he's not up to having mating when offered to him, Oriana said. I was told about your culture's free mating way of life, Inko said, embarrassed to talk about it. A worker came to their table giving them their orders. Unlike you humans, we have advanced medical science that prevents matingly transmitted diseases, and having children is almost never unwanted, Oriana said. Because of how hard it is for your race to have children? Inko asked. Yes, Oriana said, taking a drink from her drink before looking outside where some pro heroes had gathered. Outside. Calls of one of the equestrians showing up in a coffee shop had gotten all the heroes in the area to show up, with Endeavor now the #1 pro hero of Japan leading them. After the humiliating defeat at the hands of Sunset's bodyguards and being dumped in New York City, All Might hasn't been able to transform to his buff form. Unable to continue with his hero work, All Might retired and is at Island where his friend David Shield is trying to fix whatever was done to him. Also is the safest place for him as everyone now knows his secret and how his quirk works. Lots of villains would be after him in his weakened form. Leaving the spot of the #1 hero to Endeavor. 1. The heroes were coming up with a plan to handle the situation when Oriana came out of the coffee shop. Her clothes, or more to say her lack of clothes and matinee body, caused many in the crowd to blush at how shameless her outfit is. And how she carried herself and looked down on everyone, and not just because she's over 9 feet tall. She carries herself as being better than everyone around her, because she is. If you're here to take me in, I have hundreds of thousands protection spells and defense technology keeping me safe from harm. You simply have the power of fire, which I have long since have become immune to. The only heat that can harm me now would be a star, Oriana said, looking down on Endeavor. 2. No, we received word of an equestrian showing up. We came to see what's going on, Endeavor said. Endeavor and all the other heroes have been ordered to not engage with any equestrians. They couldn't risk the equestrians going to war. They already showed what a group of young Mares, still children in the eyes of their race, are able to do. All Might's defeat at their hands has shattered the faith people have in heroes and the truth of his quirk coming out. That he was quirkless and was given the quirk that rapidly ages the user if they have a quirk already, and he still told Izuku that he couldn't be a hero without a quirk, causing his popularity to plummet among the quirkless and those with weak quirks. I'm here to talk to Midoriya about family matters. I'm Oriana, the first Alicorn and first queen of the Equestrian Empire, said Mare said. Your Sunset's grandmother? MT Lady asked, who like the other heroines are fighting down the jealousy boiling in them at the sight of the female equestrian in front of them. So far they only seen Sunset and her bodyguards, who are all young girls. Now they're seeing what a fully grown female looks like, and they all couldn't help but be intimidated and jealous by her body. Yes, and from now on your planet is going to be dealing with me. Unlike my granddaughter, I'm not as kind to those who disrespects my family. Speaking of which, Oriana said as she opened small portals showing the students and teachers of the high school that Izuku went to and was bullied at. Without a word, the adults and children on the other side of the portals all gave out a yelp of pain as small white gems the size of rice grains came out of them. All the gems flew out of the portals and into Oriana's right hand. The adults and children all felt like something was taken from them, and panic began to spread about them losing their quirks. I have taken your quirks and made them into these gems, which if broken you all lose your quirks forever, Oriana said as she closed her hand around the gems, crushing them with the sound of glass breaking. There, your quirks are now gone. Punishment for the years that Izuku was mistreated. Pray to whatever human god or gods you have, that's all that I do to you. The portals closed and Oriana turns her attention back to the heroes in front of her who are all now scared of her. I'm over 40,000 years old by your planet's years. I have lived for a very long time, seen civilizations rise and fall, outlived most of my loved ones. At this point it takes a lot to get me to become attached to anyone, as I know I will outlive them. For you short-lived race, it's like losing a pet. Izuku is one of those rare few that I actually like and attach to, and not just because he's going to be a part of the family. I personally turn an entire race into stone statues, completely self-aware of what happened to them. I have faced off against just about everything at least once. Someone immune to being teleported or telekinesis, I just used the surrounding area to encase them in a prison and send it into space. Or send hundreds of thousands of robots just to overwhelm them, and once in the center of that mass, pick it up and send it to space. Or just send the entire planet into the star of its system. I have tossed 4 planets into their stars. Anger me at your own risk, Oriana said, walking back into the coffee shop with the heroes and people around her, now very scared of her. 3. In the UN, former Queen Oriana stood in the center of the room with the representatives of the Earth's nations watching as well as the rest of the world. I have taken over all operations for this world from my granddaughter Sunset. All matters are now my responsibility and the terms that she made are voided, but for the challenge for the planet. It's still on and only because of Izuku wanting to go through with it. Once he gives the word that he quits, your world's fate is sealed. Instead of open negotiations, I will give out what happens and you obey. You don't, you are all easily replaceable. I have been through this situation of bringing a world into the Empire thousands of times already. All ending the same, the planet becoming a part of the Empire or being destroyed, Oriana explained to the UN. Screens showing military bases on Earth appeared and all the soldiers and equipment outside were all lifted up in the air. I'm over 40,000 years old by Earth years, giving me all the time to refine my powers to the point where I can simply lift the targets I want up and fling them into space. If somehow immune to that, I use the surrounding objects to cover the target or simply fling the ground thereon up into space. Any form of power you can think of, I have encountered before. Have magic, I just have the planet covered in an anti-magic field, super advanced technology, surround the planet with an EMP field that prevents all forms of electrical power from working. Your quirks, I have already shown that I can simply take the quirks, making them into the form of gems that once broken, the quirk is gone. I have an answer to any problem you can possibly give me, and I'm not the type who will play around and underestimate you humans. From how quickly Izuku learned to use the advanced technology and learn from his mistakes, I know that you humans can be dangerous. So unlike in fiction where the alien trying to conquer Earth, I won't be sending one monster per-week, no, just attacking one place at a time, sending ground forces when all I have to do is have warships fired down from space, or take lightly of a small attack force that suddenly shows up as a larger battle is happening, Oriana said in an emotionless voice that is calm and empty of warmth. 1. The screen shows the soldiers and equipment being safely placed back down on the ground. You had a small chance against Sunset, who is still young, and this is her first planet with sapient life on it that she has claimed. I'm a veteran at either conquering or welcoming planets into my empire. Your planet, thanks to the actions of Japan to Izuku, due to him being quirkless. And is the reason why I'm still allowing him to challenge the claim by Sunset. I find it amusing that the one person being allowed to choose how Earth will be added into the empire is one that his culture sees as being worthless as he has no quirk, Oriana said. A portal opens high above and dropping out of it came Nizu, the former principal of UA that has been closed down. You refused to let Izuku in as a student, even after he passed your tests, even after you refused to let him use his support gear. Looking only for those with flashy and powerful quirks, when Eraserhead quirk isn't flashy at all and he depends more on his support gear than his quirk. Who told Izuku he couldn't be a hero and that life isn't fair? Who also expelled students that he would have to make effort to teach? When I stepped down from ruling the empire, I set up my own school and been a teacher and headmistress of it for centuries. I never allowed someone like him to be in charge of students, Oriana said. A screen appears showing Eraserhead naked except for a metal collar around his neck, being made to walk on all fours. Camera pods are filming and robot soldier pods leading him down the street of the capital of Japan, where the HQ for the Hero Public Safety Commission is located. Tears of shame leak down from his empty eye sockets as he's been forced to empty out his bladder and bowls out in the open, as the shock collar zaps him to obey and the robot soldier pods uses energy whips on his butt to force him to walk. And he only insulted Izuku. You on the other hand decided that because he didn't have a quirk he couldn't be a hero. When your own quirk is making you smart enough to talk, and completely useless in a fight. But you make that up by being smart, which Izuku is more than capable of doing. He could easily be an intelligent hero, who keeps up to date on villains and heroes with the best way they can be taken down with the right set of quirks. But you didn't. I promise you that what I can do to you will make you wish you're still in that lab being used as a test animal, Oriana said, looking down at Nizu, who shivers in fear. A portal opens, showing Izuku on the other side. Izuku, I'm sure you've been watching. I want you to inform the rodent about who I am from what you have analyzed of me, Oriana said to Izuku. Oriana, the first alicorn and oldest, outwardly calmer and more composed than the rest of her family, she's calculating, manipulative, and intelligent. She is patience, where she will wait for centuries just for the right opportunity. Thanks to living so long, anytime she's been beaten to the ground, she will get back up and pick up where she left off without missing a beat, now knowing just how to counter what you used against her. Has studied every type of magic that the Empire has encountered, having mastered them all, and reached a level that so far none has managed to reach. Has layers upon layers of protection spells and defense technology that makes her just about invincible. The only one who can match her in raw power is her granddaughter Eclipsa, great aunt of Sunset. But Eclipsa has lost every match against Oriana thanks to her centuries of experience and skills. Is also skilled in both diplomatic and military affairs and other skills that a good ruler needs to rule. Must never be made into an enemy, is too powerful and skilled for any hero or villain to ever face. Once she decides to take action, she will end it right there and then, Izuku explained. 2. Good analysis of myself, Izuku. Are you sure you still want to go through with all this? Wouldn't you rather just marry Sunset and get it over with? You have no reason to care about what happens. Your mother will be taken care of, as she will be coming along with you back to Equestria, and that worthless husband if she wants. You already know what kind of life you would live back at the castle. Just that you also be busy making new princesses and hopefully a prince in the royal family, Oriana said. I know, but I still have to try, Izuku said. Doing the right thing when you have no reason to, Oriana said, and looks down at Nizu. Please explain why you think Izuku shouldn't be a hero, when he just shown that he has no reason to fight and more than enough reason to just give up and be the stud of Sunset's herd. Which will be for a very long time once he's treated to improved on his body and lifespan. Maybe I will spar you if your reason is a good one. Nizu could only stare up at Oriana, his mind racing. It's because the Hero Public Safety Commission would never allow it and no agency would take him, Nizu said. And you didn't tell him that reason to lessen the blow of you rejecting him? Oriana asked. Nizu just looked down. Starting now, all Japan hero agencies must have a quirkless hero on the payroll. All hero schools must have quirkless students in the hero course. Failure to do so will have all agencies and schools closed down till that is corrected. Failure to close down will have me take away all the quirks of the people still in the agencies and schools who remain open, Oriana said. Wait, so you're canceling my challenge? Izuku asked, making everyone feel the cold hand of fear running through their spines. No, it's still on. I'm just making an exception to Japan, only, Oriana said. All the schools and agencies will be closed down. There isn't a quirkless hero or student in any of them, Izuku pointed out. And that's my problem, how? Oriana asked. What about the villains? Izuku asked. I can show this world how effective the robot police force of Equestria are. And as for any villain who makes their move, they should pray that I'm more entertained by what they do and not decide to take action myself, Oriana explained. Wait, that would mean the only hero school that be still open be Stardew Valley High, the one I'm going to, Izuku said. Yes, which means all the equipment and supplies that were for the other schools and the students going to them will have no choice but to attend that school. Which parallels the plan the Japanese government had planned in getting the needed equipment and students who can tutor you for the combat skills you need to learn, to stand a chance against the girls in the herd, Oriana said. So you're allowing new teachers and students? Izuku asked. Yes, but remember, if any of them give you a hard time or any reason to give up, just give up and live the life of a stud. Sunset and her herd are more than willing, and other Maras as well, Oriana said, for the first time giving a hint of emotions as she teased Izuku. I haven't been given a reason not to give up yet, Izuku said. This is your only chance, Japan, don't mess up, Oriana said as she looks at Nizu. Nizu is lifted up in the air and his clothes are ripped off. I'm turning you back into the mindless animal you were before. You still have your mind, but it be locked away in your mind as your body returns to being a mindless animal. Trap in the back seat as your body acts on instinct alone, scratching and running around on all fours. Aware of the world but unable to do anything. You be placed in the old rabbit hut of the school. A reminder of what happens to those who insults my family, Oriana said coldly as she casted her spell on the struggling Nizu. The spell took effect and Nizu was no longer in control of his body. The former sapient rodent began squealing as it clawed around in the air. A portal opens and the struggling animal was tossed into the old rabbit hut of Stardew Valley High. The people who know Nizu could only stare in horror at the once intelligent principal was reduced to a wild animal that is running around and clawing at the cage it's trapped in. With the threat of having their quirks taken away by Oriana, the former queen of Equestria and the first alicorn, all throughout Japan, the hero agencies and schools closed their doors. The only way they could remain open is by having someone quirkless as a hero or a quirkless student. Causing all the agencies to close down as there isn't one quirkless hero in Japan, who is officially licensed. The schools are scrambling to get a quirkless student to be in their hero course, breaking their own rules on enrollment to stay open. CI Academy, the all-girl hero school, is one of the few schools that remain open thanks to already having quirkless students in general education, one of the few hero schools that does so. Now the hero classes has students with different skills that don't need a quirk, a skilled sharpshooter, a hacker, and a girl from a kendo dojo. All transferred to the hero classes to keep the school open. With all the hero agencies closed down and the few schools that are still open, taking 3 years to teach the quirkless students to be heroes. The entire system is a mess. The agencies are where all the business and day-to-day work to keep everything going takes place, and that without an agency, all the pro heroes are now out of the job as the law says that a pro hero needs to be employed by an agency, a government official said to the Japanese government cabinet meeting with officials and pro heroes. And the Hero Commission has been closed down by Oriana for the rampant corruption that she lay out in the open for all to see, another official added. And with Oriana watching anything we do, like reworking it so that pro heroes don't need an agency to operate, she can just put a stop to it. Or give out a punishment like what happened to Eraserhead and Nizu. And according to her, she was being nice to Eraserhead as he only insulted Izuku, and for Nizu, who she is mad at, is now trapped in his own mind, a living hell, and being kept in the rabbit hut of Stardew Valley High, the Prime Minister said. As Oriana said, she has those robot pods all over Japan, handling all emergencies and capturing any villains. Either handing them over to the police or executing them on the spot, after mind scanning them. They also been using what they call pain beams on people who are making a scene, which are energy beams that cause direct pain to the subject's nervous system, bypassing any defense. The robots also have removed anyone who tries to stop them, with them also having a beam that takes away quirks. They use them on everyone who misuses their quirks, like in schools with students who bully other children. They are also handling all crime, from child abuse that is just as people turning a blind eye to keep it out of the public eye, to corruption in the local government. No matter who they are, the robots just go and either arrest them and take away their quirks or just execute them, an official said. 1. At least she's allowing new teachers, students, and equipment for Stardew Valley High. But only because she cares about Izuku and wants to see what he can do, Mirror Mirror said, whose school is one of 4 schools that remain open, not counting Stardew Valley High. Have all the teachers and students check. If just one of them is any trouble or has records that are spotty, they're not allowed to get anywhere near Stardew Valley. Too much is at stake here for any troublemakers. And make sure all the teachers and students be made to watch the entire recording of Eraserhead being made to crawl around the Hero Commission HQ on his hands and knees, having to empty his bladder and bowels out in the public, his eyes gorged out, having to do it for 3 days straight with no sleep or rest, only stopping when the robots were dragging him along as he could no longer move on his own. And remind them that if they mess up and make Izuku to dislike them, Eraserhead only insulted him, what do they think will happen to them? And show them the rodent who is now the school pet, the Prime Minister said. Eraserhead is still recovering and is broken from what happened to him. And with it all recorded, his reputation is gone now, Mirror Mirror said. On the plus side, the streets have never been safer, an official pointed out. Yes, but we have no choice in what happens to our country. We're being used to show the rest of the world what happens if Izuku gives up or doesn't win, the Prime Minister said as he looks over to a woman who has been sitting in the back of the room. Which is why I have hired someone who can help train Izuku, now that new teachers are allowed in the school. Sundial, who needs no introduction. About time I was called up, the woman said with an American accent. You? Mirror Mirror asked as she looks at the woman who is dressed as a cowboy and back to the Prime Minister. You hired Sundial? Well, the trial by combat from what I understand doesn't say that the kid can't use guns. And well, I'm the best there is, in using guns and close-range combat. I hardly use my quirk, as it's just too easy that way, the woman said. She is Zora Salazar, known as Sundial, a gun for hirer and bounty hunter. Zora is a tall, thin but muscular woman with long brown hair, tan skin, and yellow triangle markings on her face. She dons a cowboy hat with a triangle-patterned brim, a red neck bandana, and a poncho which has a symbol that resembles the sun in the middle. Under her poncho, she wears an orange long-sleeved embroidered button-down shirt, a belt with a plus-shaped golden buckle that has a sun symbol in the center, brown and dark brown striped leggings, and brown boots with golden sun-shaped spurs on its ends. 2. Her quirk is Sundial, that allows her to dial things forwards and backwards in any process, which includes gravity, inertia, the cycle of the sun, and even a person's lifespan. She can also imbue her quirk into an object, i.e. her bullets. Whatever gets hit by one of these objects will be affected by her power. This allows her to do things like instantly destroy any object with a single hit from her weapons. However, once a process has ended, she can't reverse it. E.g. she can't float if she hits the ground, once her gun breaks it's permanently broken, and if someone is dead she can't bring them back. She also uses her quirk to keep herself young, by reverse her aging to make her younger. But she rarely uses her quirk, preferring to use her combat skills that she is trained to build up. She's a master at the quick draw and can handle herself in melee combat. She also is armed with twin bowie knives, a bullwhip and rope. She normally plays around with her bounties and only uses her quirk when the target is that dangerous, where she can't play around. You're going to teach Izuku your combat skills? Mirror Mirror asked. Yup, he's going to need it. With how those girls kicked All Might's butt, he's going to need to learn how to fight people who are much stronger than him, which I do all the time. I kicked All Might's butt before, Sundial said. And shove your gun into his mouth, Mirror Mirror adds. Just wanted to see if he would panic, and he did, showing me that he's not bulletproof. Too bad it turns out he's quirkless and was given his quirk, telling the kid he couldn't be a hero without a quirk. Load of bullcrap, even without my quirk I'm the top bounty hunter and hirer gun in the Americas, Sundial said. But can you teach? Mirror Mirror asked. I'll give it a shot, besides have to make a good impression on the Equestrians. Teaching the kid my combat skills should get my name out there. I'm excited to be a part of a galactic empire. Going to other worlds, tracking down bounties, facing off against different alien races, with all sorts of natural abilities or have their own quirks, facing off against advanced technology and all the other sci-fi stuff. I have been bored with how easy things are for me. And being a big fish in a small pond for so long, I get to be a small fish in a big pond and get to face a real challenge again, Sundial said. So you're only here for yourself, Mirror Mirror said. Of course, I am, but you guys need me. Or do you have someone else who knows how to fight without needing to fall back on their quirks? Sundial asked. The Equestrian mansion ship. Since her meeting with Oriana and being informed of what will happen once Izuku becomes officially Sunset's husband and stud for her herd, Inko had enough of the reporters and crowds around her home. She had her things packed up and moved to the mansion that Izuku was staying at in Stardew Valley, where she met the girls who are living with her son as his maids, who are Sunset's ladies-in-waiting. Moondancer, a female unicorn. She has a light yellowish-gray coat, red mane and tail with purple highlights, and purple eyes. She has G-cups. Minute, a female unicorn pony with a Maya blue coat, periwinkle mane and tail with a pigment blue streak and steel blue eyes. She has F-cups. Lemon Heart's a female unicorn pony with a yellow coat, a cerulean mane and tail with a lighter tail streak, raspberry eyes, and has G-cups. Twinkle Shine is a female unicorn pony with an ivory coat, curly pink mane and tail, electric blue eyes, and has F-cups. Lyra Heartstrings, occasionally called simply either Lyra or Heartstrings by her friends, is a female unicorn pony. She has a magic mint coat, brilliant cyan mane and tail with a white streak, sunglow eyes, and has F-cups. Bon Bon, a female earth pony with a beige coat, pigment blue mane with a rose-pink streak, cerulean eyes, and stands over 8 feet tall. She has I-cups. Wallflower, a female earth pony who is short for her age at under 7 feet, with a light green coat with freckles on her face, dark green mane, light brown eyes, and has H-cups. Wallflower has the ability to be completely ignored to the point where no one notices her till she does something to get their attention or they bump into her. Girls, while I'm here, I don't want you to dress like this, Inko said, looking at the clothes that are little more than underwear that the girls are wearing. All wearing a skimpy white tank top that shows that none of them are wearing a bra, and a white loincloth that only covers their groins, which they also aren't wearing underwear. Well, Izuku doesn't mind, Lemon Heart said. Well, I do mind, and as his mother, I don't want you girls going around dressed like that. Where can I get clothes that are in your sizes? Inko said, looking up at the much taller and bigger girls in front of her. There's a fabricator that makes any item you want, Moondancer said. Show me how to use it, Inko said, taking charge of the young girls. I'll show you how, Moondancer said, falling into following her herding instincts and cultural norms. From one of the upper floors of the mansion, Izuku watched his mother taking command of the girls. Not only because upon learning his mother be living with him to get away from the media circus, he asked the girls to listen to his mother, but also because of how with their race, young Maras will instinctively gather and obey older Maras who are family of their herd. At least now I don't have to deal with them exposing themselves to me all the time, Izuku said to himself, watching as the girls followed his mother to the fabrication room. And that's a bad thing? Sunset asked, standing right next to him. I'm just not ready to be a father, Izuku replied. You do know that we Maras have a hard time getting pregnant, Sunset said. So how long do I have to train? Izuku asked. A school year, and Grandma will be handling everything, Sunset said. How long are you going to have your power block? Izuku asked. Till Grandma decides to give them back, leaving me powerless, unable to use my magic. All I have now is my natural abilities, Sunset said. Speaking of which, the herding thing where young ponies follow an older female, works for any mother who is a part of the herd? Izuku asked. Yes, young ponies of the equestrian race follow the commands of an older female who is related to their herd. With you already being a part of their herd, having slept with me and the others in a pile of bodies so that your scent would mix with ours, Sunset said, missing how right it felt for her and the rest of her herd to all sleep around Izuku, pressing their bodies up against his and saturated him with their combined scent, marking him as a part of her herd. And because Mom's scent is like mine, you and the others just automatically follow her? Izuku asked. Yes, and she will be our mother-in-law, and you asked them to listen to her, Sunset answers. You don't obey your mom, Izuku sighed. That's because I have a strong enough will to be more independent, Sunset said. She did join us in bed, Izuku said, blushing as he remembers being buried between Celestia's massive bobas. Till I'm fully grown and not so small compared to the rest of my family, they will continue to see me as a child. Sleeping with me and my herd is a common thing, Sunset said. She is over 12 feet tall, Izuku said. Which is why she still treats me as a small child, Sunset said. So want to have mating? Sunset, Izuku said. What? You better get used to it. As the stud, your duties is to make all of us Maras be pregnant with your children, Sunset said. Sunset, you and the others will kill me, Izuku said, blushing as he remembers the videos of Maras and the rare stallions having mating. Stallions are breeding machines, completely outpacing any human male by a mile. Unlike human males who can only last 3 to 5 rounds at best before they're spent, stallions can last at the minimum 20 rounds. Grandma Infinetia has the gene therapy ready for you. When she's done with you, not only will you have massive balls and manhood but also the stamina to handle all of us, Sunset said. What about magic? Izuku asked. All it would take is an anti-magic thing used on you to undo it. There've been plenty of people who've been empowered by magical means who ended up easily being handled by being hit by anti-magic attack, Sunset pointed out. What will be my other duties? Izuku asked. Aiding me as my confidant, and once we have children you look after them, Sunset said. Is that all I'm going to do? Izuku asked. Being a stay-at-home husband whose duty is to have mating whenever your wives wants to have mating and looking after the kids. You can spend all of your free time playing video games with breaks of mating, Sunset pointed out. I just want to be more useful, Izuku said. Useful? Okay, I'm going to take a bath and you're going to wash me, Sunset said. What? Izuku asked, blushing. You're going to use your hands to soap my body and clean me and you're going to like it, Sunset said, grabbing Izuku and drags him to the bathroom. 3. Island is an artificial moving island created for scientists to peacefully research together. Thousands of scientists and their families inhabit the island's main cities. Scientists primarily research the quirk phenomenon and develop tools to support pro-heroes. Backed by every company in the world that deals with pro-heroes. Since the war planet, Last Horizon appeared in the sky before moving away to the asteroid belt to harvest the space rocks and scout the other planets for resources. The researchers of I-Island have all been busy researching on anything that could aid them if fighting breaks out. But so far, they have nothing, as Izuku pointed out that the Equestrians only have to fire down from space and send in hundreds of millions of robots to mop up what's left of the defense force on the planet. The drones being used to police Japan by the Equestrians are a preview of what's to come. For all the harm they do, the drones are keeping the crime rate of Japan down. Even finding and capturing a few villains that have been in hiding. The biggest shock was that All for One was still alive after all of this time. He was captured quickly once them drones depower him and executed him on the spot. 1. After all this time, it's over just like that, Toshinori said, watching the recording of All for One being blasted by 3 drones, reducing him to ash in seconds. I know, David said, looking over the latest scans he did on his old friend. He's been working to see if he can't undo whatever was done to Toshinori, so that he could use his quirk again. How is Melissa doing? Toshinori asked. Still refused to see you. She's still angry how you told the Izuku kid that he couldn't be a hero without a quirk. Seeing how you were quirkless yourself, David said. With me unable to use one for all and how I have been unable to unlock its full power. I was hoping that she might be able to do what I couldn't, Toshinori said. What about giving the quirk to Izuku? He's the one who needs it, David asked. I have been ordered not to come anywhere near him. They're worried that me showing up will just have him giving up to spite me, Toshinori said. I can see that, and there's nothing that we can actually offer him that he can't have and more once he becomes a part of the royal family that rules most of the known galaxy. The other countries are trying, but at the end of the day, there's nothing we can offer him that he wants, David said. And he's a young man surrounded by all those girls who are more than willing to have mating with him whenever he wants, Toshinori adds. I wouldn't have lasted this long if I was in his shoes. He has his own harem of lovely and very willing females who he somehow managed to get to all fall for him, David said. Been reading up on the equestrians, and they live like wild horses of earth, forming herds around a single male who fathers all of the children of the herd. The males, being rare, are treasured and protected by the females of the herd and are breeding machines, Toshinori said, thinking about how the manhood and balls of a male equestrian he's seen in the medical files are something out of a hentai. From what I read of their history before they met other races, stallions only made up about a quarter of the population, which has traditionally led to their being coddled, pampered, and denied any real position of social importance or power. Thanks to artificial impregnation has raised the male birth rates, but most Maras still prefer doing it the old-fashioned way and still forming herds around a single male. They have a free love culture where mating is very open. They have fertility banquets where it's just in. Male equestrians need to have mating because of their reproductive biology. They need to mate frequently for their physical and mental health. Their need for mating only stops when they're surrounded by their children, as their mating drive will stop so that they can focus on taking care of their children, David said, who has been reading up on the alien race. I wonder how izuku will handle what's expected from him. The human male mating drive isn't made for that, Toshinori said. Having mating with multiple women at once is more of a once-in-a-while thing. Every single day, on the other hand, the exhaustion alone will kill a human male, David said. 2. But that's not stopping many men from planning on trying to get their own herd, Toshinori said. Oriana made it no secret that the only value we have to the Empire is that we're one of the few known races who can breed with her race. In fact, we humans are able to breed with many other races on their home world, David said, bringing up a screen showing some of the different races in the Empire. Donkeys are like earth ponies but are shorter. While they can mate with ponies, mules, and hinnies who are usually infertile, which is why donkeys and ponies rarely become a couple for that reason. Zebras are like earth ponies but can grow even bigger than them. They can mate with ponies but the offspring are usually infertile. Sea ponies, a distant relative of the equestrian race that branched off millions of years ago, who live underwater. They look like their cousins but have fins and gills. Kirins, a distant relative of the equestrian race that branched off millions of years ago. Kirins have bushier manes that wrap around their heads, slightly longer ears, curved branching horns, scaly carapaces on their muzzles and backs, thin tails, and tufted, cloven hooves. Breezes are small, magical fairy-like creatures that have distinct pony attributes and body shapes, whilst also having large, clear wings and antennae. Abata are similar to unicorns, except they have two curved horns, one in front that's shorter than the other, thin and slightly angular bodies, backswept ears, and thin tails. There are other subspecies, like how there used to be other types of humans thousands of years ago. It turns out that we humans only having one type left is actually a rarity in the wider universe, David said. 3. Really? Toshinori asked. Yes, most of the worlds that are a part of the Empire has a race that has other types of the main species still around, David said. The screen showed pictures of other races from other planets. Dragons, an entire race that are dragons that come in all shapes and sizes. Some have wings, some don't, some have no limbs, and some are aquatic. Deer, a planet of deer-like humanoids with different types of deer. Cattle, from a planet of humanoids who have features of cows, oxen, bison, and yaks. Goat, from a planet of humanoids with goat features of different types. Griffin, from a planet of griffin-like humanoids. Wait, there's a dog and a cat people planet? Toshinori asked. The Diamond Dogs and the Thundercats. Yes, they're a real thing, with the males looking more like their namesakes than the females, David said, showing the pictures of the males and the more human-looking females. The idea of an ancient alien race or a scientist playing God is the most accepted idea. Why the humanoid shape is so common. All those races just accept being ruled by the Equestrians? Toshinori asked. There are some who refuse but still remain trade partners with the Empire, and there are also other empires as well. It's just that the Equestrian Empire is the largest by growing slowly over the centuries while others rise and fall. With the Empire being so stable and peaceful, many races choose to become a part of the Empire. Earth being conquered is actually rare. The only reason why Sunset chose to conquer was because of how badly Izuku was treated, David said. That I know, Toshinori said. The image of you being beaten by young girls of their race really took the fight out of everyone. And the reveal of your secret of one for all being a quirk that can be passed down, David said. They only wanted to show off that even me, considered to be the strongest hero, is no match for them. Not that they need to, as they can just send robots and fire from space. All for One wasn't a match for the robots, Toshinori said. People are worried that they will just use a planet-wide depower energy field to make everyone quirkless, David said. I bet Greg is finally having his spaceship plans having people interested in it now, Toshinori said. Yes, but he already sided with the Equestrians. Seems his blueprint for the spaceship he came up with has something that caught the eye of Infinitia, the surviving daughter of Oriana. When Sunset first showed up, not only did she hack into everything with a screen but also downloaded everything on a computer, which she sent to her grandmother Infinitia for analyzation. Infinitia is the complete opposite of her mother Oriana, for she is the one who jump-started the industrial age of Equestria and also began the space age as well. And over the years she proved to the other races is that she's one of the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. What makes her so dangerous is how she reacts to any new breakthrough in science. She displays a terrifying interest of a mad scientist hell-bent on twisting the new and interesting power or machine that could help her in gaining more knowledge. She studies the new subject in question and works to replicate, even improve them. And more often than not, she is successful, according to the report Izuku made on the royal family. She also looks out for any new talent on any new planet. Greg and many others on I-Island have been headhunted by the Equestrians, even Sam, my assistant, David said. Sam? Toshinori asked. He and I worked on a quirk amplifier to allow you to regain your former strength, but that was before I learned of the truth of your quirk. Sam was approached by a drone who offered him a job if he would work on a new quirk amplifier. He agreed, and the quirk amplifier and the research he and I did on it are now in the Equestrians' hands. Among many others who were told that their projects were either too dangerous or lack of interest. Which now many of the same backers who denied funding or had the projects locked away scrambling to find someone who can make those breakthroughs that they didn't want before the Equestrians came. Lots of money to be made that has nothing to do with hero support gear, David said. Thinking about it, most of the technology created is for hero work, Toshinori said. Which is why most of the people who were headhunted were people who were working on projects that weren't for hero work. Greg and his spaceship design, from what I heard, had something that would improve on a model of spaceship already in the market. The Equestrians cherry-pick ideas and technologies from anything new they discover. And headhunt for people of any new race who show talent, to look at their technology with fresh eyes, David said. So what do you think of the chances of Izuku winning? Toshinori asked. Bad. The only thing going for him is that the girl he be fighting won't be actually trying to harm him that much. And that's not only going into keeping him wanting to fight, David said. It's the reason why I can't ever see him or talk about him. I already ruined things by telling him he can't be a hero without a quirk. Everyone is scared of doing anything that would upset Izuku after what happened to Eraserhead and Nizu, Toshinori said. Eraserhead is completely ruined for life, and the rodent is just an animal now. If what Oriana said is true, then Izuku knew is still in there but unable to do anything, David said. A fate worse than death, Toshinori said, hoping that Oriana wouldn't show up to teach him a lesson too. But then again, what else could she really do to him? The faith people had in him is gone, and because of how he put everything aside for his hero work, now powerless, he finds his life empty. David is the only one of a handful of people who still thinks of him as a friend, but Melissa wants nothing to do with him because of what he said about the quirkless couldn't be heroes. Which is the very situation he finds himself in now. 4. The bounty huntress and gun for hire, Sundial suddenly showing up in the police station wasn't something that Chief Kenji Tsurigami was expecting or wanted. He has never dealt with her before and never wanted to from the stories he heard about her. She's strong and skilled, has a powerful quirk that she has mastered, and she knows it. "Alright doggy, I'm here to pick up the girl Eri, white hair, has a horn on the right side of her head, can reverse time on living things," Sundial said. Yesterday the Equestrian drones had attacked Shai Hasaikai Yakuza compound and captured all the members and depowered them. They were creating quirk erasing bullets using the blood and tissue of a girl named Eri who can reverse time on living things. She's been held in protective custody in the police station till they could figure out what to do with her. Seeing how with the Hero Commission being shut down there's lots of confusion on what they're able to do anymore. "Now see here," Tsurigami said. The drone that's been placed in the police station like all the other police stations in Japan. Which updates the police of any changes that Oriana has decided to make on how things work in Japan, made a beep and appeared in front of the chef showing a screen with writing on it. Tsurigami read the screen, before letting out a breath seeing how there's nothing he can do. All of Japan is under the Equestrian's control and he and the other law enforcement officials either follow the new orders or they can just leave and the drones will just replace them. Who don't need a warrant for anything and will just force themselves into buildings if anyone tries to stop them. With her quirk being like mine, I'm the best choice in teaching her how to control it and I can undo anything she does, Sundial said smugly. "What are you going to do with her?" Tsurigami asked. "Enroll her in the school I'm going to be teaching at and teach her how to control her quirk. I went through the same kind of hardships when my quirk first showed up. I'm the only one who can teach her," Sundial said. "Why?" Tsurigami asked. Was shown the report by one of the robots and having a sidekick who has the same type of quirk as me, sounds fun. I never had a sidekick before and I am going to be teaching at the school, I need to learn how to teach, Sundial said before thinking to herself. And it helps to show the royal family what I can do as the request came from Oriana herself. Tsurigami leads Sundial to the room where Eri is being kept in. The room is where children are kept till someone picks them up, a playroom for them. Eri is watching TV of some animated show, who became aware of the two adults walking into the room. "Hello Eri, I heard you have an interesting quirk," Sundial said walking up to Eri and kneeling down to her level. "It's a curse," Eri said. "It's not a curse, you just need someone to teach you how to control it," Sundial said as she touched a plastic chair and before Eri's eyes the plastic chair aged becoming brittle as it was aged in front of her. "I have the same type of quirk as you do. I can age things backwards like you or forwards, not just with living things but with anything." "You can?" Eri asked. "Yup," Sundial said as she aged the plastic chair back to how it was before. "But, I can make you disappear," Eri said. "And I can just make myself older," Sundial said as she aged herself to an old woman and aged herself back to a young woman. "I understand what you're going through, I couldn't control my quirk when I first got them. But I learned to control it and I've been asked to help you to learn to control yours." "Really?" Eri asked. "Yes kid, I will teach you," Sundial said remembering how during her childhood how her quirk caused her problems. And learning about what happened to Eri, using her to create bullets that erase quirks. She could have ended up like that if someone had discovered her when she was still young. Stardew Valley. Inside the mansion, which also serves as the Equestrian embassy and home of the Midoriya family, Inko has been keeping busy by helping her son deal with the girls living with them. The school Stardew Valley High is under renovation, as badly needed repairs are being done around the clock by workers with free use of quirks to speed things along, so that the school can open at the start of the new school year. There are also new students and teachers also attending the school, thanks to almost all the other hero schools having to close down because of the lack of quirkless students in the hero courses. With the ones still open having transferred quirkless students from general education classes to the hero classes. The schools that were closed down are scrambling in finding quirkless students, holding special entrance exams for quirkless students to enter the hero courses. Some of the schools are lowering the standards so that they could reopen, most offering students who want to get into the hero course by being sharpshooters like the pro hero snipe. Handling the paperwork for the use of a gun for the student, as the schools are desperate to reopen. 1. Inko has gotten all the girls to stop dressing in nothing but skimpy underwear and are wearing casual clothes of underwear, shirts, skirts, shorts, pants, and dresses. She also has been getting to know all the girls, including Sunset, who, with her grandmother having stripped her of her babalian duties, has placed her under house arrest. Turns out that Sunset wasn't supposed to go off on her own like she did. She was supposed to wait for one of her other family members to come with her to get Izuku. Sunset is allowed to travel to the mansion ship she gave to Izuku, so that she and the rest of her herd could spend time with him. Also giving a chance for Inko to meet all the girls in the herd as well. Indigo Zap, Sugarcoat, Lemon Zest, Sour Sweet, Sunny Flare, Juniper Montage, Trixie Lulamoon, Wallflower, Moondancer, Minute, Lemon Hearts, Twinkle Shine, Lyra Heartstrings, Bon Bon. All of them are living with Izuku now, counting Sunset. That makes 15 girls in the herd who all will be the wives of Izuku. Inko is learning of the culture and customs, namely that they cluster around Izuku whenever they could. Which is them covering him with their scent, marking him as one of the herd. Which is why she often finds the girls having their bodies pressed up against Izuku. The ponies having a low fertility have a mating-free culture where mating is just a normal part of daily life. By using magic and advanced medical technology, they solved mating-related diseases. The ponies can use manhood liquid banks to artificially fertilize eggs and implant them in wombs like how Sunset was born, but many follow the old-fashioned way and only do it the artificial way when the mare really wants a child. All of the girls are all still going through their puberty, still seen as adolescents in the eyes of the adults. They're all big, but having seen fully grown ponies, Inko knows that they're far from done growing. They made it no secret that Izuku has a small chance against them, but if he faced off against an adult pony, he stands no chance at all. Making Inko worried about what will happen to Izuku when he faces off against one of the girls. Walking into the bedroom, Inko was greeted to the sight of a pile of bodies all on the massive bed, for a herd to all sleep on. Somewhere in the pile is Izuku, which Inko is glad that all of them are wearing PJs and not naked. Looking at the bodies of the girls, Inko couldn't help but feel envy, knowing that as ponies they will continue to look like that for centuries. Kids, wake up, Inko said, turning on the alarm to wake them up for breakfast. With the alarm waking them up, the girls began dragging themselves out of bed, revealing Izuku in the middle of the pile. Bon Bon picked up Izuku and carried him to the bathroom where she and the others would wash up before heading down to get their meal. Which Inko learned that they wash each other when they take a bath with each other. With that out of the way, Inko headed downstairs to the dining hall. As she did, she passed by a mirror and couldn't help but see how much improved her appearance has become after being treated by the advanced medical technology of Equestria. She's getting thinner and healthier than she has been in years, all provided for her. Izuku is also undergoing treatments, preparing his body for gene therapy so that he can be transformed into an equestrian hybrid. So that he can be with his herd for centuries, instead of them outliving him. And be able to survive having mating with them, as 3 to 4 rounds is all that a human male can do before they're spent, and that's if they're young. Are the others up? Asked Starlight Glimmer, a pinkish-purple coated unicorn mare with a purple and mint-streaked mane and tail. Standing at 6 feet 9 inches, a hourglass figure. Yes, Starlight, they are, Inko replied to the personal secretary of Sunset, who was appointed to her by her grandmother Oriana. She's there to help Sunset out and to keep an eye on her as well, reporting to Oriana. Next to her is a new unicorn girl, is around the same age as the other girls. She has a lavender-colored coat, she wears thick black glasses, her dark purple hair is tied up into a bun, and there's a pink highlight in her mane and tail. She stands at 6 feet 6 inches, a slender body and F cups. 2. This is Twilight Sparkle. She's a recent graduate from the magic school and is my new assistant. She's the little sister of Shining Armor, the stud of Princess Cadance Herd, which is why she's my assistant, Starlight said. I did the work to get the job, Twilight protested. Yes, and you being the sister of the stud of a royal herd also helped you getting the job, Starlight said and turns to Inko. It must be the same with you humans. I used to work in an office and that happens a lot, Inko said. She's only from a noble family who lived in the capital of Equestria, our home planet, Canterlot City, where Canterlot Castle is located. Very expensive to live at, where only the rich and the nobles are able to live there. I on the other hand live on a farming planet and had to work my bum off just to get the scholarship to attend the magic school on Last Horizon. And had to make myself stand out from all the others, where my planning and management skills got Sunset's attention and made me her secretary. While you were just given the job right off the bat, Starlight adds. A drone suddenly appeared, alerting them that there is someone wanting to get inside the mansion. Inko's eyes widen as she sees that it's his Ash, her husband and Izuku's father. He stopped by the security robots that protected the mansion and the surrounding area. His Ash? You're here? Inko asked, using the drone in front of her to talk to his Ash by speaking through the drone that's in front of him. With all that's happening, I came as soon as I could, his Ash said. So that's the useless male that fathered Izuku, Starlight said. Oh, the one who'd been working overseas and never bothered to contact Inko or Izuku for years? Twilight asked, looking up the information on her personal computer. That is a hard light computer. Useless? His Ash asked. It's how Equestrian view males who don't keep in contact with their wives and children when they're able to. Seeing how you haven't sent anything but money for years, when you could have called or sent emails or letters, you didn't. Izuku doesn't even remember you, and only has old pictures to know what you look like. His Ash, they will not be welcoming of you, Inko explains. The Queen Grandmother Oriana has given the order to keep you out. While if Inko wants to give you handouts, it's up to her, but you're not allowed to enter the mansion, Starlight said. Come now, I know I haven't been there for Izuku, but I'm here now, his Ash said. And that Izuku is marrying into wealth and power has nothing to do with you showing up now, Starlight said as she has a drone enter the master bedroom and inform Izuku that his dad is here. The only way you be allowed inside is if Izuku wants to, Twilight said. And I don't, Izuku said. Izuku? His Ash asked. Not interested in forming a bond with you. If mom wants to, it's up to her, but you're not allowed inside, Izuku said. Son, I want to see you, his Ash said. And you're only here because of the family I'm going to be a part of. You wouldn't have cared otherwise to show up, Izuku said, ending the call. His Ash, Izuku just doesn't want anything to do with you anymore. You're going to have to work to get him to give you a chance, Inko said. Now leave or have your quirk taken, Starlight said, ending the call from her end. His Ash walked back to the waiting car that drove him over to the entrance of the quarry where the mansion is located. He's the only other family that Izuku has, and because he put his job before family, his relationship with his son. which the government agents were counting on to help keep Izuku focus on fighting and not just giving up. 3. Inko was blushing as she sat across Oriana having tea with Sunset and Izuku. The reason why Inko is blushing is because she had walked in on Oriana boba feeding Sunset. It consisted to be normal in Equestrian society for someone of Sunset's age to still be boba fed. Because of the size difference between young ponies and adults, the children are eating machines to fuel their growth, as well as increase their natural abilities. Adult female ponies all lactate, enabling them to nurse any young in the herd. Their milk isn't just nutritious but is also infused with magic that helps in the young's body and magical growth. Sunset has been fed by her mother, aunts, grandmother, great aunt, and the other members of her family. And because she's still young for a pony, she is still boba fed. It's just a social norm for us, and it's in our biology. Feeding young with our milk both helps their growth and is a way for us to bond and infuse her with our scent, Oriana explained. It's a normal thing, Mom, like mating, Izuku said. You should have seen Izuku when Mom while hugging me and Izuku to her body while we were sleeping with him between us. He started freaking out when I started to nurse on Mom in my sleep and woke everyone up, Sunset said, causing the two humans to blush. You sleep with your mother? Inko asked. It's a normal thing. When I was Sunset's age was when herds still slept in barns together. All the young, Mares and the lone stallion, all in one big pile, Oriana said. Barns? Inko asked. Equestrians used to migrate from one place to another. There were barns builds, large buildings where herds could sleep in rough weather. Herds would group together and form large herds as they follow the rains, Izuku explained. I was a part of some of the last migrations before that practice died as farming communities became more and more popular. The ones who stuck to the migration culture slowly became traders and merchants, traveling from one community to another. After we entered the space age and met other races, the herds that followed the old ways became spacefaring communities, going around trading from one race to another. Polaris follows that kind of lifestyle as she keeps on exploring the galaxy, staying for a few years before she goes off again, Oriana said. Is that why the girls invite me to sleep with them and Izuku? Inko asked, blushing. Yes, that way they can mark you with their scents so that you become a part of the herd, Oriana said. Well, I'm not comfortable with that. Izuku hasn't slept with me in years, Inko said. It's okay, just you living with us will have our scent on you, little by little, Sunset said. I've been wondering, what about parent and child mating? Inko asked, blushing. We see nothing wrong with mother and daughter mating, as long as it's not rape. But for mating with fathers and sons, is where we draw the line. Nothing good comes from someone who is both a brother and father to someone else. We have the same problems with inbreeding as just about every other race out there, Oriana said. I asked the same question, Izuku said, blushing, remembering the things he saw while on Equestria. Namely Sunset having mating with her family and inviting him to join in. Don't worry, Izuku, I will tell the rest of the family that they can't join in. They will eat you alive. Sunset and the others are still inexperienced young Mares, who haven't had the taste of male flesh before. I'm well experienced and would drain you dry before I even intense pleasure at once. I just have a ravenous mating drive, that's so great that I required a gangbang to feel properly satisfied. You did see the recording of one of them, Oriana said. Sunset and the others showed me it. You and all of those Mares, Izuku said, blushing. Who thanks to a spell all have female manhood so that they can really give it to their partners, Sunset said. You can do that? Inko asked, blushing. Simple spell seeing how rare males are and helps to release stress, Sunset answered. I throw it for the students and staff at my school. Good way to release all that stress and pressure. Not as bad as the Asian schools, where everything is about what school and what grades you have. Something else I'm going to have to change. Seeing how often all that work will mean nothing once Earth is a part of the Empire, Oriana said. 1. Speaking of which, what kind of duel are allowed? Izuku asked. It's up to you, but it has to be combat, or a sport that is combative like fencing. Long-range weapons are allowed, but that's reserved for to the death matches. Have you decided on what kind of duel it be? Oriana asked. Can it be a game, like a video game or a card game? Izuku asked. I could allow it, but it's just too amusing to watch as the very society that saw you as being useless without a quirk, go and do everything to train you to be able to fight one of your future wives, Oriana said. 2. Yep, it's combat or nothing. Well, you could do the duel as a mating duel, where you have to learn how to please a female and make one of your wives submitted or outlast one of us in mating, Sunset said. Have a mating duel? Izuku asked, blushing. It's an old tradition where a stallion shows his strength by taking one of his females, and have mating with her till she either submits or passes out. It's to show his strength and ability to fertilize his herd, Oriana explained. Was Grandfather Duskstar like that? Sunset asked. No, Duskstar was much like Izuku, very shy and letting us Maras take the lead. He was more of a lover than the rough and hard mating stallions are known for. Him taking me in his arms and taking it nice and slow as he gently strokes my body. It's the reason why I never took another stallion as a lover, Oriana said. What was he like? Inko asked. Here's what he looked like, Oriana said, casting a spell and pulling out an image of Duskstar and her old herd, including her two sisters Solar and Oral, which brought back memories of a much more simpler time in her life. The blue stallion with a purple coat and pink mane wasn't as muscular or big as the other stallions that Inko has seen, which are just pictures, but looking down, he was more than equipped to be the stud of his herd. They're as big as watermelons, Inko thought to herself. He's also a grower. He doesn't show how big he is, but once he's ready it was always a shock to the new Maras when they join the herd and have mating with him for the first time, Oriana said. I can't have a mating duel, Izuku said, embarrassed at the thought. Then what are you going to do? You need to decide on what you're going to do, Sunset said. Fencing, I guess, Izuku said. Yes, that would give you a better chance, Sunset said. You can decide on the rules, which I go over before agreeing to, Oriana said. Classes start tomorrow, Inko reminded Izuku. And we can see how long it takes before someone does something to causes you to give up, Sunset said. You really think that's going to happen? Izuku asked. There's a betting pool going on across the Empire, Oriana said. The odds are 1,000,000,000 to 1, in that someone from Earth doesn't causes you to rage quit, Sunset said. That's bad, Izuku said. The first day of school is always tense, but for the first day of Stardew Valley High is intense. The new teachers and students have all been carefully sorted, with people with quirks that could force people to tell the truth or read their minds called in to make sure that no one gets into the school that has any negative view of the quirkless or anything else. No one who has bullied others, no inflated egos, no one who was allowed to do what they wanted because of their quirks or family, no one who was seen as having an interesting personality no matter how badly they behaved. The school is also going to be more like a Western school, no long hours of studying or pressure on tests, where the teacher looks the other way as one student is picked on for a way for the rest of the class to release their stress on. Is all out, and Western teachers and heroes are replacing the Japanese ones. For Izuku, the reason for all the changes and money poured into the school needs a stress-free environment where he can train and not worry about passing a test that is useless for him. Which one Western teacher Sundial pointed out by beating one Japanese teacher to a bloody mess in front of the school board by pistol whipping her face, to show what would happen if Izuku spent more time studying for a test than training. 1. The teachers are all under strict rules that if they allow any student to get away with anything, they be thrown into prison and the student expelled. The teachers who be teaching izuku are Western teachers who have taught quirkless students in hero courses before, as none of the other countries are willing to trust the Japanese in teaching someone who doesn't have a quirk to be a hero. The students in the class with izuku are all hand-picked who, while having skills that could help him train, also aren't anything like any of his former classmates, who had their quirks taken from them. All of them are fearful of being the one who causes izuku to quit. Which is why most of the students are from other countries, from countries that do teach quirkless heroes, and many are quirkless. With the announcement of what type of duel izuku would be doing, fencing for the fate of the planet, the students were changed to those who came from sword schools to help train him. Some legendary sword styles of Japan's past are just that now, as they fell out of favor, or like some styles where only one person could learn the style, the sole person either died before they could teach someone or that no one cared to learn it. Especially the ones whose sword masters had hidden themselves away and expected someone who wanted to learn their style to come to them, ending with them dying alone. 2. Besides regular classes, izuku would be training both in learning different sword styles as well as strengthening his body. A planned diet, supplements, and vitamins to build up his body. A medical team who will be monitoring him, making sure he's healthy, and mental health experts to make sure he isn't under any stress or have issues that he's not talking about. The school is filled with cameras and people looking for anything that could result in izuku finding reason to give up. The students all gave izuku space as he walks into the school, having been dropped off by a flying vehicle. He also has 12 robotic orbs following him at all times. The orbs are equestrian and keep an eye on izuku. They're able to create force fields and fire powerful lasers. They're the same types that are protecting the manor he's been living in. At the rabbit hut, the former intelligence rodent Nizu is being tormented by Sundial as she sprays him with the garden hose. With his mind locked away and his body on autopilot, he's been living as an animal. Being aware but unable to do anything, eating the rabbit food when he used to eat cooked food, drinking from the water bottle when he used to drink from a cup, sleeping on straw when he used to sleep on a bed. And worst of all, reliving himself out in the open. "Don't be such a baby, you stink rodent," Sundial said as she washes off the filth on Nizu's fur. She never did like the rodent and takes pleasure in tormenting him now that he's a dumb animal. "That's a big rat," Eri said, watching her guardian spraying the rodent. "He is, and he bites at anyone who tries to wash him," Sundial said. "What about drying him?" Eri asked. "Nope, he will dry off sooner or later," Sundial said. "Sundial, come on, class is going to start," Gil said, poking his head out of a window. "Coming," Sundial said, spraying Nizu one last time before turning off the water and leaving with Eri. Inside Nizu's mind, having watched what happened to his body, all he could do is weep. He can still feel what's happening to his body but has no control over it. All he can do is watch. He's only kept alive because he's a living lesson to the others in the school of what will happen to them if they get on the wrong side of izuku. He won't have to do anything, as the Equestrian royal family would handle that for him. As the days pasted and turned to weeks, then the first month of the school year pasted. Stardew Valley High was doing well, keeping izuku happy and not stressed, mistreated, or anything else how he treated before in his old high school. The students and staff, besides having their quirks taken from them, are also facing other hardships. The students are finding it impossible to get into other schools or been imprisoned, and the staff are also imprisoned. Making sure that any resentment izuku has towards his former classmates and staff won't be an issue. With any legal limit ignored so that they be punished, as it's either that or izuku giving up and they don't have any say in what happens with them joining the empire. The government official Mika is looking over the reports from the monitors that have been watching the school. To make sure that nothing happens with izuku, the school is always under constant watch and all students and staff monitored. People coming to town are also monitored and are only allowed in after going through checkpoints that are open 24 hours a day. Too much at risks, and the other countries have sent their own people to handle things as they couldn't trust the Japanese to do the job themselves. Currently Sundial is training Izuku in her style of fighting, dirty fighting. Other sword masters had been brought in to help train Izuku. The duel is following the rules of dueling where first blood wins. The sword styles that are for small and fast attacks have been chosen, being the best suited for Izuku. Seeing how he's going to be facing off against bigger and stronger opponents, he needs speed and agility to win. Watching the screen of the training is Marlon and Gil, who are in the room with Mika. He and Gil have gotten used to having a full school again, as they were both around when the town started dying when the mine closed down. Of course it's only temporary, as once this is over all the new students and staff would be leaving, win or lose. Sundial is making the best progress with Izuku, Marlon said, watching as on-screen Sundial is showing Izuku how to duck and dodge a much larger and strong opponent. And teaching him to fight dirty, Gil said, who has been getting Izuku in shape for his duel. The duel isn't for displaying skills or following the tournament rules like I did. The only rules are what they agree on before the duel starts, Marlon said. Is Izuku's father still around? Gil asked. He is, and is trying to build a relationship with Izuku. So far nothing. Hisashi just spent way too much time away and never contacting him to form a bond with him, Mika said from her desk. Bonding with a complete stranger or bonding with his future wives? I know what I would choose, Marlon said. Who thought that he would help? Gil asked. Some people in the Defense Department thought it would help. They had the company he's working for to send him back home and have a branch office open here in town. The company went with it as they want to make deals with Equestria, but of course with how Hisashi is that his job comes first and his family last. A good idea to keep Izuku from quitting, but only if he had a relationship with his son in the first place, Maki said. 1. He is talking and going out on dates with Inko, Marlon adds. I get it. With Izuku going to be a part of the royal family and Inko also joining with all the benefits, like extending their lifespans and all that. He's hoping to be a part of that, even if it's just through his wife, Gil said. The only thing he has going for him is that he had remained faithful to Inko and provided them with money, Maki said. He be the family member that is around but no one is really attached to, Gil said. In Equestrian society, a father like that who could have remained in contact with his family but didn't is seen as a worthless male. The ponies will never see him as anything but that. And if Inko wasn't around they wouldn't tolerate him being around, Maki adds. Is Inko still attached to him? Gil asked. Looks like it's more because of him having provided for her and Izuku that she's with him. She is looking healthy and skinnier than she was before she started living with her son in that ship house. And is the reason why those girls no longer dress so skimpy. Them being still young mares, they automatically follow the oldest female who is a part of their herd, which is her. And with her presence in the matter, is also the only thing keeping Sunset and her ladies in waiting from overwhelming Izuku with their mating appeal and willingness to have mating with him. Seems while the ponies are open about mating, it is still awkward for a parent to walk in on the younger ones having mating and not wanting to join in, Maki said. 2. That would really put a stop to the fun, Marlon said, shuddering at the thought. Besides the ick to their mating-free culture, the technology they shared so far are doing a wonder for the town. The recycler is a wonder, being able to break down anything into either organic, synthetic, or mineral materials that take the form of square cubes or balls. Linus, who runs the garbage dump, has been getting many customers to send their trash here, after all the trash in the dump was recycled. Hospitals and laboratories have been sending biohazard waste and expired materials to be recycled. The fishermen in the town are also sending the offals from their catch to the recycling facility as well. Of course all the cubes are being taken by the Equestrians, as Linus is only renting the recycler from them. They also have a recycler installed in the water treatment plant and the sewage treatment plant, Gil pointed out. The recyclers filter out all the materials and chemicals from the water, as water is the only thing that the recycler doesn't break down. which the recycler was created to do in the first place by the race that created it, before its other uses were discovered by the Equestrians. The Equestrians, like the omniscient Romans when they discover something new, started by Infinitia during her rule as queen. New technologies and ideas from any new races or the ruins of a fallen civilization or space wrecks were gathered and incorporated into the existing technologies of Equestria. Showing us a sample of what life be like under their rule, Maki said. The new medicines would be nice. I seen what they're doing for Inko, Marlon said, wondering if they could make a new eye for him. Yes, all in good with that, but if Izuku loses or gives up, we don't have any say in how joining the Empire will be like. With how Oriana explained how any kind of group or people are against the Empire, unlike conflicts that happen here. She just kills off the entire group and wipes out the knowledge of them from history. With anyone connected to the groups being made sterile so they can't pass anything down to the next generation. Writings and records destroyed, being replaced by what she had made to twist the idea or belief. She's fond of rewriting books of faith, like she has a dim view on the faiths around here that devalues females. She would rewrite it so that it's the other way around, and because she's immortal she can wait for the changes she makes to take effect, Maki said. I saw that interview. She had one race faith be rewritten to where the male would have to tear off their own manhood and balls and eat them, once they have a child. That faith died out quirkily, Gil said. And she showed that she can give the Middle East farmable fields and water, which she will take away if any group there straps bombs onto themselves. So that after having a taste of a better life, everyone knows who to blame. And that she will just read minds of the people there and fling them into space and keep on doing it till there's no one left who is a believer. She'd done it enough times where it worked, and after 100 years or so passed, no one who has lived a better life will care about a group of people who were all flung into space. And in the extreme cases, she's more than happy to wipe out the entire group that the people of those groups came from. As she pointed out, there are around 7 billion people on Earth. She can cull our numbers down, and she has completely destroyed cultures and ways of life for other races, and in a few short generations, the future generations of their race don't care one bit about them, Maki said. The Middle East diplomats weren't happy with that, Marlon said. Or after she was insulted, she gave out the biofuel that can be used instead of gasoline, to our world all for free, Gil said. Installing the facilities and supplying the fuel, just to bankrupt the oil-soaked Middle East countries and taking away much of their power and influence. The only value of oil is as fertilizer for the empire, and isn't that valuable where the power and influence that the Middle East countries with oil will ever have again? As besides oil, there's not much they have that can't be found elsewhere, Maki said. Sand for cement? Gil suggested. Nope, the sand of deserts aren't that suitable to make cement with. The sand from rivers and beaches are more suitable, Maki said. 3. I'm looking forward to living under the Empire, Gil said. As do many other people. The ones in power are the ones who are the most worried as they have the most to lose, Maki said. Loud screaming echoed through the chamber as Oriana made all the government officials in the halls of the Japanese government main headquarters. Having all of them being injected with nanobots that would cause all of their nervous systems to feel nothing but pain. She is doing so to make sure they all know who's in charge from now on. As the same thing is happening to all the government officials in all the major powers of Earth. Oriana watched coldly as she caused all the so-called leaders cry out in pain. Then she shuts off the nanobots. Now that I made it clear that I can at any time just kill you by the nanobots inside of you, which will all blow up if you try to remove them, causing internal damage, and even if you could survive that, the ones in your brains will kill you. Or leave you brain dead, either way works for me, Oriana said. She waited for them to recover. I don't need any of you. I have for 693 times have completely killed off all world leaders of a planet and rebuilt it from the ground up. And I'm only counting worlds that are advanced past a certain level in development where they can actually put up a fight. This world isn't one of them, your planet is one that is simple to take over. I simply get rid of all of you world leaders, the politicians, and others in power. Then show the average citizens that under my rule, things are better for them. No promises that you never follow suit, none of the bulls you allow to continue, just because the ones who fund your re-election campaign don't want it. There be no more special interest groups, the wealthy and companies won't have any say. I tell you what will happen and you follow it, or die and be replaced by someone who will, Oriana explained. Oriana brings up several criminals and warlords who are wanted but for one reason or another remain free. I'm going to show this world what benefits come with being a part of the Empire. Namely, I'm going to purge this world of crime. I'm rounding up all criminals and mind scan them to weed out the innocent. Then depending on their crimes, will either be ship off into prison on this world, for others be imprisoned in a prison ship so that there be no possible escape for them, as the ships are all run on automatic with robots. And are programmed to open all doors if there is an escape, and all prisoners will have their quirks removed and injected with nanobots like all of you to prevent them from trying to escape. And there aren't any escape pods or garbage pods, Oriana explained. 1. Computer screens are showing robots attacking compounds and buildings where powerful criminal organizations were at. Whose bosses had kept up a clean image by never getting their hands dirty, army of lawyers and payoffs. All meant nothing as the Equestrian robots took them prisoners and took their quirks. Drug lords are being dragged out of their compounds by robots, gang members are being captured in their own homes, warlords had the same fate as their soldiers, as their weapons had no effect and the robots thanks to their force fields. There all the leaderships are captured won't be given any rights and are going to spend years in an off-planet prison where they have no connections to the outside world. Or just killed off. And to prevent anyone to replace them. The reason why many turn to crime will be taken care of. I'm giving you all a list of laws that will be passed immediately and my robots will see to that. And the duel is still on, I'm just cleaning house and making sure that all of you world leaders know that any kind of power I let you have is only because I allow it. Be happy with the scraps I give you. And the reason for all of this is thanks to Congressman Sidney Whale of the United States, and that interview he gave last night. No amount of empty words will change the fact Earth will be a part of the Empire, just that izuku will determine if it be a one where both sides sit down and talk on how it's done or me making the changes without you having any say in the matter. I thought I already made it clear what happens to those who insult izuku, Oriana said and teleported away. Stardew Valley High. With what happened with the world leaders, and the display of power as all criminals organizations and warlords were dealt with in less than a day, all eyes turned to izuku. With him being the only way the ones in power can have any kind of power after their world becomes a part of the Empire, and being given a taste of what can be done to them. Donations and other training aids are being given to the school to train izuku. I'm tired, I'm going home, izuku said, having spent 2 hours training with the newest sword Aster sent to train him. No, you stay till I say it's over, the sword master said, who was used to ordering his students around. A click of a gun was heard as Sundial aims for his head. It's over when he says it over, not you. And there are snipers taking aim at you, Sundial said. Get rid of him and cancel whatever he was going to be paid, izuku said, walking away. Once izuku was gone, a bunch of soldiers who had been watching came out of hiding and aimed their guns at the sword master. What are you thinking? Maki asking the sword master. I thought you were told not to upset izuku or think you can just order him around. I'm trying to teach him and he just keeps on asking questions, the old man said. You are being paid to do what you're told, not you being in charge. Grab him, Maki said. The soldiers grabbed the sword master and 2 shoved their guns into his face, causing him to stop struggling. He was shoved to the ground and his hands spread out while 2 guns are still shoved into his face and into his mouth. Maki takes one of the soldiers' rifles and press it down on the sword master's right hand and fires, blowing a hole in his hand and followed by the other. You're not being paid and now you're just an example of what will happen to the next person who tries to do anything that would upset izuku, Maki said as the soldiers took the screaming sword master away. Blowing holes in hands usually leads to nerve damage and shaking hands, or he just lose the use of his hands. He will never be able to swing a sword again, Sundial said. I'm counting on it, Maki said and turns to one of the soldiers. I want all the sword masters new and old watch what happened to him. Too much is riding on Izuku for anyone to get him to change his mind on the duel. One of the things that Izuku had to quickly get used to when he first was teleported to Equestria and lived with the royal family, namely sleeping with Sunset and her herd, is the fact that her older family members would sleep with her and her herd time to time, as it's perfectly normal for the older members of the family to sleep with the younger members. Izuku awoke and found himself being cuddled by Sunset with her buxom body pressed against his while she used him as a stuffed toy. Not to mention the other members of her herd who are all buxom as well. Made worse by him sometimes finding himself sandwiched between Sunset and a member of her family, mostly Celestia, who would squeeze him between her massive bobas and press her voluptuous body around his much smaller body. Or he and Sunset being the filling between two older ponies who have their youngest member safely between them and her chosen stud. Unlike their nimble but busted daughters, the mothers are all voluptuous and all giants compared to him. When they cuddle with him, he would be squeezed between their massive soft bobas that are the size of his torso. They and their daughters rubbing their scent all over his body, so that everyone knows what herd he's a part of, as herds would mark any male who becomes a part of a herd to show that he's taken. All of which is something that their race does, as the older members of the herd would always have the youngest in the middle between their larger bodies to rub their scent all over them to mark them as a part of the herd. Which isn't that bad compared to what Sunset and the others of her herd often do while they're sleeping. And that like their daughters slept in the nude, as they only wear clothes when they need to, like in cold weather and environments, or when they're dealing with races who aren't comfortable being around naked people. Sunset would nuzzle her face into her mother's or other older member of her family bobas, and start nursing right there, sometimes joined by another member of her herd and feeding on the milk-filled bobas. Which is a normal thing for ponies, as Sunset and the others of her herd are still children in the eyes of the older ponies and are still boba-fed. With him trapped by their larger and stronger bodies. And it wasn't just Sunset's family but also the mothers of the rest of her herd would join in sleeping with their kids, to meet the stud that their daughters have bonded to and to mark him with their own scent. Oriana would join sleeping with him and the others time to time, as the only family member Sunset has around. Oriana would just appear and plop herself on the bed and sleep with them. Sunset and the others would feed on her rich magic-infused milk, which helps them grow bigger and stronger along with their magic. Sunset is a big eater, as her body, being that of an alicorn, needs lots of nutrient and energy to grow to its full potential, and why Oriana and the other older Maras of her family feed her their milk. And that Oriana likes caring for her young family members, who are alicorns. Because she is immortal, Oriana had to watch her non-alicorn family members be born and die one way or another in front of her. She does still care for her non-alicorn family members but is distant with them, while being close to her alicorn family members. As they be still around after 1,000 years, and why she's very protective of them, as without them, she would just grow cold and distant with everyone. 1. Izuku, having read and watched the historical records of the Equestrian royal family, knows how scary any of them can be. They have ended wars that have lasted for hundreds of years, by wiping out the race who either attacked them thinking that they're a part of the enemy race or both sides. The Equestrians don't get involved in wars of other races, but when the conflict affects the empire, from ships being raided or something else, is when they do get involved. They do give the warring races a chance to end the war, but if they're attacked during that time when the establishment contact, that race sealed their fate, as the ponies don't give people like that a second chance. It's how both Stellaria and Heaven were killed during the first space war that Equestria was a part of, the Bayer War. Both were trying to get the Bayer race to see reason, but they wouldn't stop their war of aggression with the Griffins. With the peace talks just being a trap where both sisters were killed when their ships were destroyed, as powerful as they still need to breathe air. 2. Which is why all the main royal family of alicorns always travel using their planet ships. Which Oriana used Equestria itself as her planet ship to take revenge for the deaths of her daughters. She turned the entire race of the Bayer into stone statues, aware of the world but frozen in the moment that they were transformed into stone. Making them immortal and unkillable while they're stone, which they wish for death. All the statues are broken into pieces and tossed into space so that even if the spell was undone, they would just die the moment it did. And if someone did want to save them, they would have to shift through billions of pieces of rocks that are drifting around space for over 40,000 years, and be able to put all those rocks together to rebuild the Bayer's body without making a mistake. And at this point no one cares to put in the effort to do it for a long-forgotten race. Making Izuku think of what his life would be like once the advanced medical procedures and magic of Equestria remakes his body. In a few years, once his lifespan has been extended, would he look back with pride of wonder why he had even bothered challenging his future wives? With how long he would live compared to normal humans, what did it all matter after a few hundred years had passed and Earth having been ruled over by Equestria for that long would change? Suddenly a large and heavy body, by how the bed moved, pressed up against Izuku's back and he was engulfed in a pair of soft and massive bobas. The size alone ruled out the other girls, and even Oriana who sleeps with them time to time. The softest and the sheer size made him remember who it is as he's been engulfed in her mountainous bobas enough times. "Mom?" Sunset asked, being woken up as her mother Celestia made herself known. She is wearing clothes, but while it's more modest compared to what Oriana wears, it's still revealing. A white corset pushed up her mountainous bobas and her thigh-high white leggings accentuated her plump round bum that's covered by white shorts. "Hi dear, me and your grandmother, Infinitia, have come here to help out adding Earth to the Empire. Mom has taken over my workload while I'm here," Celestia said. "Grandma Infinitia?" Sunset asked. "Seeing how your mother wanted to come over even while Mom is handling things, I decided to come too and see what kind of technology the humans here have. The reports of the scientists that had been headhunted by us already has perked my interest," Infinitia said, who stands at 9 feet tall, wearing small, round spectacles perched on her nose, her long mane tied back into a ponytail that looks like it's made out of fire. The short skirt she wore came to just above mid-thigh, giving a glimpse of stocking tops, while her blouse showed the start of a deep cleavage and the sides of her white lab coat would never meet each other thanks to her huge bobas. She started wearing the white lab coat after watching a human movie. "Their technology has stunted after heroes appeared," Sunset said. "I know, but I made more breakthroughs by searching through the knowledge of new races. I'm just stopping by to say hi and tell Izuku about the treatments he needs to go through to extend his life. Also, you need to let him have some air," Infinitia pointed out. Sunset and Celestia looked down to see Izuku struggling between their massive bobas, trapped between them. They separated and Izuku gasped for air. Something that happens to him a lot, as the ponies love to cuddle and sleep together, and he needs to get used to till he's big enough where that doesn't happen to him. "Izuku, are you okay?" Inko asked, appearing behind Infinitia. "This happens to him a lot," Oriana said, appearing in the doorway too. Seeing how all the adult Maras have bobas the size of his torso, of course it would happen, Sunset said, hugging Izuku to her body. "The others of her herd are also awake." "Sunset, you and your herd are now under the supervision of Celestia. And Infinitia will be handling the valuation of the resources and future potential of Earth," Oriana said. "Future potential?" Inko asked. "Being immortal has us planning for the very long term that won't bear fruit for years or hundreds of years. It's why the politicians are so easy to handle, as they're all too busy working to be re-elected and getting favors to keep their power. And that I actually don't need them at all, has them kissing up to keep whatever crumbs I give them. If it takes over 100 years just to build up the infrastructure and build up the education to allow shipments of good to do to the Empire, we will just wait. I'm going to be destroying the healthcare system by setting up healing pods. They can heal and cure just about anything. Even cancer can be taken care of, within a time frame anyways. And it'll be cheap compared to what hospitals charge, Oriana said. Why? Inko asked. To show the industries of this world that any field they have cornered the market in, I can simply take away. And also destroy the health insurance companies who refuse to pay for anything and make people go through hell for anything, Oriana said. 3. Are you just doing that just to get more people on the side of joining the empire? Izuku asked. Bit of both, Oriana said, having fun as it's been centuries since she has overseen the adding of another race to the empire. She has forgotten how fun it is to see the looks of those in power realizing that everything they have means nothing to the Equestrian Empire. The only worth your planet has is that you humans can breed with us, even before modifying your body to withstand Sunset and the other girls when it comes time to you giving us some more children. Hopefully you be able to father a Alicorn prince, Infinitia said. Or one of you just choose the mating of your child, Izuku pointed out. Yes, I thought of that but just went with being random, Celestia said. Grandma Galactica has the record of most children in the family, not counting the male members. I want to break that, Sunset said, looking down at Izuku as she hugs him to her body with her huge bobas resting on his shoulders and squeezing his head between them. Izuku, you don't really need to fight, just give up and be the royal stud and give me some grandchildren, Celestia said. Izuku gulpa. Celestia, now no longer having royal duties to do, will be helping Sunset and the other girls to get him to change his mind and just give up. Just like when he was living back in the castle and Sunset and the others weren't shy about having mating out in the open. The only reason why they haven't been doing it here is because of his mom. All Might was with David in the cafeteria of the building they were in, when suddenly found himself standing in front of an adult equestrian mare. She's a sight to behold, standing taller at over 11 feet tall with a unicorn horn and wings on her back. Her coat is light fuchsia gray, and her mane is light cerulean, light turquoise, very light cobalt blue, and pale heliotrope. And her eyes are a pale, light grayish magenta. She also has a very voluptuous body, with her mountainous end cup bobas that showed no hint of sag, with an equally massive butt and wide hips. She's dressed in a skimpy and revealing white dress. Her cleavage is exposed by a circular window in her dress, and the hems of her skirt went far up her thighs, revealing the sides of her powerful legs. She also wore a golden tiara on her head, with a hole on the front that allowed her unicorn horn to poke through. Both of them are in the stadium where new inventions are showcases, with the screens all showing both of them to a worldwide audience. Before All Might could speak, music began playing from somewhere and the mare in front of him began to sing. In all my years of living, it isn't very often that I get it off. I try to chill with the winds. But you have crossed the line. I've been known to be gracious, even with my foes. And yet, you hurt my future son-in-law, of mine. Daring to try to strike my daughter. That's right, Sunset, who you tried to attack, is mine. All Might eyes widen, learning he's facing Celestia, one of the 4 ruling sister queens of the Equestrian Empire. I'm left without a choice and without a doubt. I've got to make you bleed, I need to see you drown. Make it clear, teach a lesson to all. But before you go, I need to make you learn how. Celestia blasts All Might with her magic, encasing him in blue energy as she lifts him in the air, with him screaming in pain. You've danced upon this stage too long. Pretending you were right, I know you'd fall. You are the worst kind of good 'cause you're not even great. A hero who reeks of false righteousness, that's what I hate. Celestia powers up, All Might leaving him as his powered-up muscular form, and drops him to the ground. I am your darkest moment. The monster that always draws near. Shadows rise, your time is though. The script is written and it's carved for you. All Might blocks the punch Celestia throws at him with his forearm that felt like it was cracking from the blow. Before she slaps him with her wing, sending him flying backwards from the blow. All Might rolled to his feet, staring at Celestia, who just showed him how much stronger an adult equestrian is compared to the young girls he had fought before. 1. A fleeting light fades from your eyes. No more masks, no more disguise. I turn on the lights and lift the curtains, revealing all to see what's hidden. All Might poured all of his strength into his strongest attack, only for his punch to hit Celestia's face. The shockwave causing the entire stadium to shake in parts, crack or break. And she just smiled mockingly at him and punched him away, knocking him on his back. I am the storm on the horizon. You're just the lie, built on sand. So state your lines. Your final act is nigh. Celestia grabbed his legs and swung him around and slammed him into the ground. The snapping and breaking of bones could be heard as she showed how much stronger she is compared to him. She lifted him up in the air over her head and brought him down on her knee, breaking his back. And drops him grasping in pain on the ground. Every breath a wasted cry. You thought you'd hide. But now you'll die. As the truth that you are, is in the light. Celestia looks down at All Might as she points her hand at him and shockwave hits his helpless form, causing the ground beneath him to crack and him to spat up blood. 2. Your tale is done. No help waits. The end has come. I sealed your fate. Celestia fires a beam of gold energy onto All Might's broken body, his muscular form shrinking as the all-for-one quirk was taken from him, leaving him a walking skeleton under the glare of Celestia. Your name will fade. Lost to memory. Lost to time. For your final act is nigh. Celestia ended her song still looking down at All Might, who now lost the one for all quirk to her. Why Izuku ever looked up to you, I never know. You're quirkless at birth but still thought that anyone without a quirk couldn't be a hero. The one who gave you the quirk didn't thought that way. She saw something that I would think she would had saw in Izuku as well. Too bad her trust in you was for nothing. You couldn't even kill one for all, my grandmother had to do it for you. And now that you have lost what made you a hero, there's nothing left in your personal life, is there? Few friends who still view themselves as your friend left and nothing else, Celestia said, looking at All Might, and frowned. Oh, you passed out. You continue to disappoint me. Celestia teleported away, leaving what's left of a former hero behind. In a newsroom, a reporter, Frank Ise, is interviewing Oriana about the purge she did of criminals and that she also rounded up many people in religion groups as well. The ones taken after being mind scanned revealed that they had raped children, which were covered up by the faith and hushed up. I'm not surprised, it happens so many times with other religions I have encountered. Putting the belief before anything else, namely the members of the leadership above anything else. Which is why starting now, the ones who allowed Matingwali abuse to happen, cover it up or taken a part of them are going to be punished by my laws. Not humans' laws, mine. And the punishment for this systematic abuse that has been allowed to happen, needs to be stamped out. Once the leadership has been purged, a new leadership for the ones that meet approve can return to service for the ones who actually want it. Anyone who doesn't are free to believe what you want is the one rule I made that has never changed since I became an alicorn and started the empire, is that no religion can force others to believe, Oriana said. The rounding up of people in places of power is the norm for takeovers? Frank asked. Yes, while cleaning up a new planet. I have found it best to clean it up from the top. People in power and in the criminal elements need to be removed, both to show others that it doesn't matter who they are as under the empire rule, they don't have any power anymore. And with how people in religion groups are allowed to get away with abuse for years, to maintain the image of the faith, I show them that their God and public image doesn't matter at all. I seen plenty of religion organizations crumble to nothing. Besides, there are no tax breaks for religion in the empire, except for the ones who actually have a god that is real. And so far, the only god I have met is a living star named Sammy, that talks to its follows by telepathy. Religions is allowed, but there aren't any of the tax breaks or backing from the empire, with the one with Sammy being the only one that has any backing, Oriana explains. So there isn't any state religion in the empire? Frank asked. There were some in the beginning, with me being the goddess, got real annoying very fast. I put a stop to it as I found being seen as a goddess just cause people to make things up about me. Besides, there are no gods, just godlike beings like in the old TV show, Star Trek, with the energy beings the Q. But I will give the religions of this world that their faith is real by having their god do something, anything really, that's out in the public and not only seen by one person, who happens to be a part of the faith already. And the only times that actually happens is when it's a godlike being, Oriana said. So you don't believe in an afterlife? Frank asked. Please, if there was one, I would have learned about it by now. And I have asked higher level beings who are godlike and they have nothing. Besides saying that this one planet out of all the other races in the wider universe who didn't even know that there's other life on other worlds, saying that only they have an afterlife and that they're the only ones that the creator of this universe has shown themselves to, and all that is just full of, that you humans think that as a race that's younger than me, is that important? The higher level beings who can freely travel through time and space, haven't met the creator, and you humans saying that your kind has, with the only proof is in old pieces of paper that were written by humans saying that they did. Oriana let out a puff of air. 1. This has shaken many people in the faiths, Frank said. You have any idea how many times I have gone and rewrote holy books just for fun, and that the ones who follow them just mindlessly follow it? I can just write down that all men after fathering a child will have to cut off their balls and eat it, with the faithful blindly following it because they can't think for themselves and will just follow whatever is written down. And it would be funny if it wasn't for how many times people blindly following. I have to think of something good for this world faiths, especially for the Middle East. And it doesn't matter if this is recorded, I have been recorded in saying I would and recorded in changing holy books, and in a few hundreds years the idiots who believe blindly follows, Oriana said. What belief do you follow? Frank asked. Harmony, it's an old faith that has no god or leaders. Just teachings that have changed from when I was young, with only the core elements staying the same. The elements of harmony, friendship, laughter, honesty, kindness, generosity, loyalty, and empathy. The teaching is that it's better to make friends than enemies, and before you ask, that's only for those who haven't shown themselves to be not worth the effort. For making friends with ones who harm others and refuse to change isn't worth the effort. With the poor treatment of Izuku, who is a part of my family, I just don't see any reason why I should make the effort to be nice. And not just with Japan but all nations of this world. I'm going to have to do a lot of cleanup before this world can join the empire, which none of those in power are doing anything that would lessen my workload, Oriana asked. What do you mean? Frank asked. Even if Izuku wins and instead of me making changes with no input from any of your leaders, I'm still going to be making lots of changes which will be planet-wide laws. There be no nations after this, just regions of a single planet with one planet government, with that leader being the one who hands down the laws of the empire. Meaning all those things that have been done for the sake of the country doesn't matter anymore. And those political prisoners will be freed, among other things, and the leaders of the regions of this planet where crimes against humanity happen will be dealt with. Of course, if the leaders would do what I'm going to do no matter what beforehand, will show me which leaders will still have some power and those who will be out of power and never have any position of authority or influence again in the new empire government. And sticking to your ways doesn't work. I'm immortal, I can wait. And those who try to rally people to keep themselves in power will be captured and sent off planet to a work prison to toll away, Oriana said. So you're just going to send people off to off-world prisons? Frank asked. Yes, as escaping from an off-world prison is nearly impossible, especially with Earth not having any spacecraft that can make it past the moon. Also, the court system will have mandatory mind scans for serious crimes, which is also going to be done for all prisoners to see which ones are innocent for the crime they've been jailed for. And the ones responsible for imprisoning them will be prosecuted for false imprisonment of the innocent, unless they go and reveal that they made a mistake beforehand and make up for what they done. Punishment is also going to be done to those who stood in the way of freeing the innocent, Oriana said. You're really destroying a lot of the structure that has been built up, Frank said. Earth is going to be under a new management, and I find that when the system is broken, the best thing to do is to destroy it and build anew. That's what I'm going to do, and as I'm immortal I can make the long-term changes that the short-lived human leaders can't or won't do. I'm a fire that will burn down an old-growth forest. But after the fire new life follows, and I have done this enough times where it's all just routine at this point. And you humans having quirks doesn't make you any more special than the last race that I have personally dealt with that have powers, Oriana said. What? Other races have quirks? Frank asked. 5,848 races that have random powers and abilities that pop up that are now a part of the Empire and counting. It's the reason why I have a spell that can take away quirks in the first place. Deal with enough races with powers where I created a spell that takes it away, Oriana said. Which is why your armed forces are able to deal with quirks, is because it's just something that they always have been dealing with, Frank said. Yes, and I'm not impressed at all. On a scale of 1 to 5, Earth is a 1, mostly thanks to not being able to travel in space and that the quirks aren't that impressive compared to the ones I have seen. Limited, while the impressive ones are only limited to the user imagination, Oriana explained. In his room in the hospital, All Might has been recovering from his one-sided fight with Celestia, the Mother of Sunset. She showed how powerful a fully grown alicorn is when it came to fighting physical. She went and healed his old crippling wound just to make it more fair, not that it helped him in the fight. She let him hit her with his strongest attack and she took it and smiled. Followed by her slamming him around like a rag doll and broke his back, then took the quirk that was passed down to him. He's been in a coma since then before waking up a few days ago. You've been in a coma for 2 weeks, the injuries you took has left you crippled from the waist down. Human medical science can't help you, but the equestrian medical science could have helped, if you weren't blacklisted, David said by the hospital bed. She healed me just so she could cripple me, All Might said, having fallen into a depression after the epic beatdown he received. Celestia had beaten him both physically and mentally with what he learned as a heart song where, thanks to their magic, ponies can create a musical out of nowhere. They can't control it, it just happens out of nowhere when their emotions are running high or something else. It differs from pony to pony, with it having been studied by Infinitia for centuries and coming up with nothing, but it just happens. 1. And according to Oriana, Celestia has always been the lazy one of her sisters. She was raised and was trained by her grandmother Cosmica, a warrior queen. She took more after her mother Galactica, spending much of her time behind a desk and dealing with domestic affairs, and since she had Sunset she spent most of her time raising her. Showing how much the gap between the weakest of the adult alicorns are to you, the former strongest hero, David said. How much as things have changed? All Might asked. Oriana made it known that even if Izuku wins, she will be making changes to how things are done on Earth. Namely, that there be no more countries, which will be different regions like the different states in the US. Borders are now all but meaningless and all global conflicts have been halted. Prisons are being emptied out of political prisoners, David said. They are? All Might asked. Yes, as Oriana made it clear that all world leaders and those in power will be punished for any crimes they have done, with the punishments only being lessened only if they actually do something to make it up. Causing all sorts of things happening around the world, companies are also scrambling and cleaning up their messes and coming clean of any crimes they have committed. Oriana said that she will just reveal it all once she begins to bring in Earth to the Empire, and she enjoy watching the rich and powerful of planets she has personally brought into the Empire have to explain themselves to her for what they have done after she mind reads them. Lots of things are being brought out as people are trying to save themselves, David said. She's just destroying the old system? All Might asked. Government and economics, she already having social services being given out to most of the world. Free healthcare, food, water, and other services that many governments said that they would provide but never did. Has caused support for the governments to fall, worldwide. The catch is that once the rebuilding is done, Earth is going to be a farming planet for the Empire. With better farming equipment, technology, education, and infrastructure which will take years to build up, Earth will be able to export goods to the rest of the Empire. Till then Earth be like that of a small town with the main source of people stopping by, being the gas station, like when we used to do as we were racing around in the States, David said. What's the point of the duel then? All Might asked. The details in becoming a part of the Empire, the laws, and other issues will be discussed and agreements made. Otherwise it's just Oriana telling what's going to happen and we have no say in the matter, David explained. Is he even going to try? All Might asked as he's being realistic with that Izuku who he told he couldn't be a hero without a quirk has very little reason to even care what happens to Earth. He is going to try. The girls of his herd are trying to get him to change his mind but so far he's still on track, David said. Hopefully he will prove me wrong, All Might said. Elsewhere. In her laboratory Infinitia has been collecting all the cutting-edge technology of Earth and brought in scientists and inventors who have caught her interest. Most of the technology is something she has or something like it, but there are always something that a race has figured out that no one else has. She just has to shift through all the stuff and find the hidden gems. Currently she has Izuku naked in a tub having his body scanned, with his head above the liquid. Why do I have to be naked? Izuku asked, very unnerved with being with Infinitia who has treated him to a number of experiments in the past. Oh Izuku, it's not the first time, I have seen you naked and I'm naked, Infinitia smiles hefting her massive bobas with her arms. Can we not do this again or have a camera filming me? Izuku asked, very nervous. Oh Izuku, the footage of you giving me a sample of your manhood liquid is what Sunset and the others pleasure themselves to before they have mating, Infinitia said smiling as Izuku turns red. And me and the rest of the family and other Maras who are interested in show you a good time. I rather not, Izuku said. Oh don't be like that, I shared lovers with Mom and the others before. Great way to bond, Infinitia said leaning down with her bobas in Izuku's reddening face. It'd be strange for me to father a child with any of you besides Sunset and the others girls, Izuku said. That's only if you are we have 2 other holes for you to use, or our bobas, Infinitia said cupping her bobas and squeezing them and making Izuku turn his head away. Can we not make this more of a hentai than it already is, Izuku said looking away at the naked flesh of female charm inches from him. Don't worry, I'm not going to pop your cherry, that for Sunset to do. You should have seen how Sunset was broken when you just disappeared like that. She and the rest of her herd really love you. Remember that, they all came here in an unexplored region of space just to find you. Sunset has accepted her punishment for just taking off to find you, Infinitia said. I was really surprised that she came all this way just for me, Izuku said. We ponies never just abandon a herd member, till we know they're gone, Infinitia said. The gen therapy you were working on. It will turn me into an equestrian? Izuku asked. Yes, a hybrid to increase the chance of getting the girls pregnant. Giving you centuries of life, Infinitia said. What about making me an alicorn? Izuku asked. Have tried that before, and while there are the rare winged unicorns, making a alicorn in a lab doesn't work. I tried to clone my sisters after they died and while it did work, They weren't immortal or had the power of an alicorn, they just looked like my sisters and they didn't had any memories of the ones who died. Their family lines continue to this day, but watching them grow old, while me and mom continue on, was just heartbreaking. Many others have tried to artificially create alicorns. None are immortal or have any of our abilities but a combined traits of the three tribes, Infinitia said. 2. Are winged unicorns like alicorns, having best of both tribes? Izuku asked. I had a herd member, Lucky Wing being one. While she was lovely and was able to control the weather and use magic, she wasn't any stronger. And with how rare it is, I only have seen a few every couple of 100 years. With you going to be a hybrid, I'm trying to keep how fertile you humans are intact so that you really be a stud and I'd pass that done to your children. Making you look like an alicorn would be something I can do, Infinitia said. Well, it would be nice to fly, Izuku said. What's the point anyways, Izuku said, looking down at his training sword. What am I even fighting for? Izuku toss away his training sword and walk off the training field. The different government agents hit the panic button seeing Izuku having given up. Moondancer appeared in front of Izuku, ready to teleport him and herself back to the manor. What brought this on? Sundial asked, who had been ready to start training Izuku, before he just quit. I seen all the stuff that Oriana is going to reveal and made me realize that all I'm doing is to ensure that the people in power who be left after the culling will still have some power. When they knew for years of what was happening and never did anything about it. Why am I fighting just to let people like that have some of their power left? They all should be prevented from ever having any sort of power again, Izuku said and held Moondancer's hand and they both teleported away. Can't argue with that, Sundial said, shrugging it off, as unlike the ones in power she has nothing to lose and everything to gain with becoming a part of the Empire. 1. The manor. Izuku laid on top of Sunset, who was using her bobas as pillows for him to rest his head on as they sat together on the sofa, with him on her lap. Moondancer is sitting on his right and Juniper is on his left, both pressing their overdevelopment bobas onto his sides. The other girls are around them as they waited for Oriana and the older alicorns to come to them. The girls had informed the older members of the royal family of Izuku's decision to just give up. Inko is also there, sitting on the easy chair that's also a rocking chair. And is watching the news like the others as people are in a panic after Izuku made it known that he's quitting. With Sundial revealing that the reason why is that he realized that all he's doing is ensuring those in power who won't be stripped of their power and wealth, will have some power left. Izuku had seen what Oriana is going to reveal of the old governments and people in power, the secrets and what they have done to keep their power. The ones who would remain afterwards had known about the stuff that happened and done nothing about it, so Izuku saw no point in fighting for those people. Is this really what you want? Inko asked Izuku. Yes, I just been lying to myself. Tearing down the old system of government and replacing the ones in power with others not from this world is the only way anything will change, Izuku said. The Hero Department of Japan that oversees all the hero agencies in Japan are so corrupt. The last head had people killed for reasons that won't matter now that Japan won't be a country anymore, like all the other countries on this world. In fact, right about now, the people who done things that you expect villains to do are now in a panic as they know it's over for them. There won't be any safe places on this world and nowhere they can hide. And all of their knowledge and whatever else they had that made them very valuable for the country they had worked for, are now worthless. As well as the politicians and the system that supports them are going to be torn down, Sunset said. I watched the video of how a planet is made a part of the Empire, Inko said. Short-term pain, but in the long run things will go fine for the human race. Besides, it's only those in positions of power and authority that will lose much. And with Oriana having all of them injected with nanobots, there's nothing they can do about it. After how many people died trying to have the nanobots removed from them, they know there's no hope of escape, Moondancer said. Earth is really going to change, Inko said and tightened her hold on the armchair as the entire building shook before stopping. what was that? The manor being teleported back on my planet ship, Sunset said. No need to keep it on Earth anymore. Celestia enters the room with Hisashi behind her in an energy bubble. Looks like when I teleported the manor, this useless male was clinging to the back gate, Celestia said, waving to the shaken Hisashi. Inko, it's your decision if you want to keep him. Has he remained faithful to me? Inko asked Celestia, who mind reads his ash. Yes, as he had no interest in mating, as it was all about his job. When his company and the government agencies learned about Izuku giving up, he was told to get inside the manor and talk to him to change his mind, Celestia said. Like that would had worked, Izuku said. He did provided for us. I'm keeping him, Inko said. You get to stay and get handouts, Celestia said coldly to Hisashi before dropping him to the floor, and he scrambled over to Inko. Where are Oriana and Infinitia? Izuku asked. Oriana is dealing with the fallout of you giving up. Haven't seen Grandma this excited in a while when it comes to adding a planet to the Empire. As for Infinitia, she is in her lab preparing for your rebirth, Celestia informed. Rebirth? Hisashi asked. Izuku is going to be transformed into a hybrid of equestrian and human. He will have a longer lifespan and be strong enough to handle the girls, Inko said. Inko is going to have it done to her as well, and I suppose you if she wants you around, Celestia said with a huff. Time to say goodbye to my human life, Izuku said, wondering what it will be like to live for centuries. Loud screaming echoed the chamber of the UN headquarters in New York, as Oriana reminded everyone there that she has tagged them all with nanobots inside their bodies. She caused all of them to hit by pain, as all of their nervous systems were made by the nanobots to feel nothing but pain. Screens showing the world leaders are all around her as she had teleported all of them from where they were to their chambers of assemblies. All in different states of dress, with those who were naked at the time having a robe on them to cover themselves. Izuku, after seeing the list of secrets and crimes that those in power have done or knew about and did nothing about, making him realize that all he was doing was to ensure the ones who are left after I cull your numbers have some power left. I knew that once he seen the list that his will would be broken. This isn't the first time that I had the champion see what they're fighting for and them just giving up. 946 times I have done this, and only had 32 times that the champion choose to continue. There will always be corruption in any government, Equestria is no different. But one of the benefits of having a ruling royal family in charge is that we can just get rid of the rot right away and replace them. And seeing how we have been around for over 40,000 years, it's clear that what we're doing works, Oriana said. 1. Oriana made a throne appear behind her and she sat down. All governments are now disbanded, with all political groups and parties, to be replaced with the standard planet government used throughout the Empire. I be reading off the names of people who, while they knew about the corruptions and crimes being done, weren't a part of it. They will be blacklisted from ever having any positions of power or leadership again, but will not be sent to an office world prison, where their power, influence, and wealth is meaningless there. Depending on the level of their crimes, will be the amount of time they will serve. And afterwards I will get to the businesses, law enforcement, and other leaders, Oriana explains. Oriana turns to the camera pods broadcasting this love all over the world. And don't think I'm forgetting the ones who worked for the government who followed the orders given to them. One thing I have seen that is the same for all governments my empire have encountered and mine as well. The best kept records are the tax records, and combined with just mind reading the record keepers, it was easy to find all of you. Emily Jones, who oversaw the experiments done in the government research lab on those who unique quirks, resulting in many deaths of young children. Bureno, we who oversaw the political prison and personally tortured to death many prisoners. You and others have now become aware of the robots sent to fetch you. All of you are going to be transported immediately to the prison planet and be punished for your crimes. Your countries are now gone, and the system that gave you power and protection are gone, Oriana explains. Throughout the world, the people who worked for the governments who did crimes for their countries were all taken from where they were. 2. They're the ones who did the deeds for those above them are gone, and you, the ones in power, have no one to follow your orders now. It's been centuries since I've been so satisfied in bringing down governments of a newly added planet to the empire. Showing those who thought themselves powerful mean nothing in the end, who I won't even remember but for the fact that my granddaughter's husband came from this world. You all just blend together as a faceless mob, who aren't worth remembering, and after a 100 of your years, 300 at the most. What you stood for and what power plays you done, no one will care about, and none of the people who have lived under the rule of the Equestrian Empire will care to bring back. Once a while someone tries, but all it takes is to read their mind and show their inner thoughts to the public, and that they just want power and wealth, to destroy any support they were trying to build up, Oriana said smugly, having done this so many times before that it's just routine for her. World ship, last sunset. At a large table, Celestia was giggling as she was setting up the invites for the celebration of the new royal herd. The last celebration of a royal herd forming around a stud was with Cadance and her herd members with shining armor. Sure, there are the other minor royal houses, but the big celebrations are for the ones with alicorns. And Sunset, not even a fully grown mare, already finding a stud is a first. Will everyone be coming? Sunset asked. It's been a long time since all of the alicorns have gathered together for a celebration like this. Your Aunt Helia will be coming. Missing a formation of a herd around a stud isn't something she can miss, Celestia said. Mom, unlike what happened with Candance's herd formation, Izuku won't want to have an with you and the rest of the family, Sunset said. Yes, but it's a tradition for the new stud of the family to have mating with us, Celestia said. Yes, but seeing how Izuku is still human, that will kill him. Grandma Infinity is still testing out the process to change him, Sunset said. There is an exception if the formation of a herd around a stud are all still young. You and the rest of your herd aren't even 20, Celestia said. We are, and we haven't had mating yet, with Izuku, Sunset adds as she's been having mating with her girls since they reached Matingwali maturity. 3. But we can postpone it, to give everyone a chance to clear up their schedules. It'd be good to see Spike again. It's been centuries since I last saw him, Celestia said. Izuku still needs to learn about living as an equestrian and his mother and that useless male I'm going to have as a father-in-law, Sunset grunted. Aunt Helia at least calls when she doesn't want to come to an event, Celestia said. Can't believe Inko is keeping him, Sunset said. He'll be left alone during the We're not desperate, Celestia said. Inside Sunset's room inside her palace on her war planet, last sunset. Sunset has Izuku laying up against her as she and her herd are all snuggled up together on the sofa watching as her grandmother Oriana purging the leadership of Earth. Reading off the list of crimes they had done and what they failed to do. Having their memories played out for all to see and them not having any defense help at all, being not used to having the support they had before that allowed them to look good no matter what. The system that allowed them to have the kind of power they have and the backing of the rich and powerful are all gone. The politicians, military leaders, government heads, and others would be serving their sentences on a distance prison world. Many of them have been repressing any sort of cultural or technological change that might threaten their stranglehold on power, doing whatever they needed to do to maintain their power. With them being forced to do a walk of shame in front of cameras as their lead to the transport ships that would take them to the prison transports that would take them to the prison planets. Where they would either die or after serving their time would return to a very different planet that they had left. Where the system that had given them power gone and unable to ever have any kind of power again. And seeing how none of them are serving less than 5 years, much will change by the time the first prisoner comes back. As for the backers and the corporations that had supported the government people, Oriana simply had the ones who were guilty of crimes arrested, after having their minds scanned and shipped off-world like the others. And for the corporations that are left, she made it mandatory for them to obey the new laws or their business licenses will be taken away. And she's also bringing in corporations from Equestrian space, which are far more powerful and richer. Who knows not to get on the bad side of royal family, and that the biggest corporation in Equestrian space is run by a member of the royal family. Oriana is also fixing the problems that were allowed to fester for so long by the humans in power, which they had started to work on, mostly in a desperate hope to make themselves look better, once Oriana made it clear that she would be changing things and getting rid of people in power. If Izuku had won, it would have been her talking with the people who are left, reaching agreements and allowing them to have some of their old power. But with so many people in power knowing what others are doing but kept quiet about it, they're stripped of the power they had. With affordable housing, social services, healthcare, and taking care of the soldiers who didn't commit crimes, the old system of power won't be coming back, Sunset said, hugging Izuku close to her as she and her herd have been keeping him close to them. 1. I seen the history videos, some pain but be better in the long run, Izuku said. He's still kicking himself for even trying to fight, just to let people who knew of all the crimes that had happened by others in power. The smackdown she did in the Middle East, taking out all the armed groups and making the oil-soaked country's main source of wealth and power, all but worthless thanks to the new fuel. No new groups be able to have funds given to them anymore, and the country that funded the old groups is now under new management. And that the ones captured are executed in humiliating fashion in public so that no one can point to them as examples to die like, Sunset said. She did make the region mostly self-governing smaller states, Izuku said. Separated the tribes, and the ones who don't want to live like that can ask any of the new help centers or any of the drones that patrol the regions for help. Many young women are leaving to live under equestrian rule, while the diehards will find themselves fewer and fewer in numbers, unable to use force to keep the young from leaving. And much poorer as they have nothing of worth anymore that people really need, Sunset said. 2. And I will live to see the changes, Izuku said as he's been preparing himself for the gene therapy that would transform him into a hybrid of an equestrian and a human. And we'll be there with you for the centuries to come, Sunset said. Elsewhere. Inside her laboratory, Infinitia admired the image of what Izuku's new body will look like, having used her centuries of accumulated scientific and magical knowledge to create a new body for Izuku. Her mother Oriana would be helping in the transformation, both healing and keeping his mind intact. It would be simple with a spell, but there is always the risk of the magical transformation being reverse. She's seen it happen before, and there is magic that just allows the reshaping of the body. What is going to happen to Izuku is much more advanced than that. The new male equestrian body is an alicorn with golden skin with a green mane, green feathered wings and a gold unicorn horn. Standing at over 8 feet tall, athletic built Izuku. The girls didn't want the new body to be just a big and burly guy, but wanted him to be like the young man that they fell for. And the most important part of his new body, designed to allow him to pleasure all of his herd. The equestrian male body is perfect for that, as the stallions are natural studs for the herd they belong to, able to mate repeatedly with the number of mares. The manhood is that of a horse, complete with thick and heavy testicles dangling from the sheathed base. Like male horse manhoods, the upper part of the manhood is a bright pink color, tipped with a wide flat and flared head, and designed to be able to compress, becoming denser the tighter it's squeezed, so that it's able to fit in just about any hole. Infinitia took great pride in her design of the male mating organ, making improvements here and there, so that Izuku can go longer and being able to produce more manhood liquid that are more fertile thanks to his human DNA than pure equestrian DNA. While there are races that could mate and have offsprings with equestrians, the children being both fertile and having the abilities of an equestrian is unheard of. What happens is infertile children who have the abilities of an equestrian, or fertile children but with none of the abilities of an equestrian and are short-lived. Which is why Infinitia created the hybrid program to transform other races into a hybrid of equestrian and what they are. It worked with the first subject being a male donkey, but it is expensive. Of course, with Izuku marrying into the royal family, money isn't an issue. Too bad we won't be able to sample him, Infinite said, but Sunset and her herd made it clear that they're not going to be letting any of their family having their way with Izuku. Especially as he doesn't want to, as it just feels wrong to him in having mating with any of his future in-laws. Thanks for listening to my video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment below your favorite part. Sayonara, see you in the next video.